Dear participants, honorable speakers, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have all of you today for the I-WELD Leadership Program Day 1. Thank you for sparing your valuable Saturday morning with us and making this event happen. My name is Nur Diana and I will be your host for today. Before we start our session, I would like to remind everyone of the house rules. Participants, please ensure your microphone is on mute to avoid any disruption. If you have any questions for our speakers, feel free to drop it in the chat box throughout the event. If the forum gets disconnected, please rejoin using the same link. Last but not least, this session is being recorded and may be posted on our social medias. May I also remind the participants to stay until the end of the program for you to claim. Before we begin, I would like to share a little bit about I-WELD and the I-WELD Leadership Program. I-WELD stands for International Welfare, Economics and Leadership Dialogue. It is actually a youth-led non-profit organization of passionate and driven youth. Our programs and initiatives at I-WELD address different facets of welfare, economics, and leadership. We also aim to develop world-class leaders in politics as well as business. We are proud to announce that ILP is one of I-WELD's biggest flagship events for the year 2021. The main purpose of this event is to inspire youth to develop the skills to be effective and successful future world-class leaders with vision and integrity. Other than that, we hope to educate youth on leadership styles and behavior through the inspiring and engaging session with industry professionals. This program will serve as a platform for developing potential leaders, which will encourage and engage youth in various fields. This year, we bring to you I-WELD Leadership Program with the theme Leadership Within You. To kickstart our event for today, I would like to invite our respectable VIP, Mr. Novi Tajuddin, to give a few words as well as to officiate the I-WELD Leadership Program. Before we pass the virtual floor to Mr. Novi, here's some introduction on our VIP. Mr. Novi is the CEO of Malaysian Institute of Certified Public Accounting 2018, and he has more than 25 years of experience in general management, accounting and finance, operations, business development, IT, and many more. Personally, for me, Mr. Novi has a unique personality, very intelligent individual. Without further ado, let's all welcome Mr. Novi to the virtual stage.
Okay, just now I can't unmute myself. I think it's been controlled. Anyway, thanks for the nice word, Diana. Thank you so much for the opportunity and the nice words being given to me just now. Let me start the speech. Thank you. To the organizer, I-WELD, the main collaborator, Global Empowerment Summit, and other youth collaborators, IUMW Student Council, Nyawa Organization, IMU Student Representative Council, Interact Club of Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Aminuddin Baki, Kuala Lumpur, honorable speakers and participants. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. Thank you for inviting me, and I feel honored to be here today with all of you. First off, let me congratulate I-WELD for organizing this leadership program targeted for youth. We definitely need more of these programs to develop the next generation of leaders. I'm also pleased to note that there are participants and speakers joining in from around the globe. This has been one of the silver linings of the COVID-19 pandemic that allows people from anywhere in the world to join a virtual event. In case some of you might be wondering who MICPA is and what we do, we are the only homegrown Malaysian professional accountancy body that conducts the MICPA program, a dual qualification that produces Malaysian certified public accountants. With our partnership with Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand, our graduates are also qualified to become members of CA, A, and Z bearing the title Chartered Accountant as well. MIGPA does have a lot of experience in developing leaders ourselves. When I say leader, it doesn't just mean your designation or position, but your ability to influence decisions and bring about change for the better, whether it is for your clients, your department, or even the entire organization. Having a professional qualification provides you the means to deepen your technical knowledge and business acumen, and builds your professional judgment to know when and how to use it. Many of our professionals have branched out of accounting into many different fields because of their versatility, and many are put in positions of leadership in organizations for these same reasons. I really like the theme the organizers have chosen for this event, which is leadership within you. It indicates that within each and every one of you, there is a leader. You just need to channel it into whatever you do, whether you are still a student, working for an organization, or even just being a son or daughter or parent. Quoting a very well-renowned leadership guru, John C. Maxwell, he says these two things which I truly resonate with. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Like what I touched on earlier too, it's really not about holding a title or position. You are all leaders within your respective spheres of influence, your family, circle of friends, your class, your organization, maybe even the sports team you play with. The other quote of his that cannot be more true is, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. You realize there are three key words here: knows, goes, and shows, which essentially means leadership is by example. But let's drill down on this quote a little bit more. A leader is one who knows the way, tells us that a leader does need to have some knowledge in order to show the way. One thing I've observed from leaders around me is that the hunger and thirst to learn new things never dies. As a student, you are on your path to becoming a leader by acquiring the knowledge taught to you at school all the way to university. After that, it's up to you to continue that learning journey, and I hope all of you do that. Build up the habit of reading, talking to others, and learning from them, and just that general humility to acknowledge that you don't have all the answers, and be willing to seek help if you need to. The next part, a leader is one who goes the way, tells us that you need to be brave and willing to be a pioneer. Even if nobody has done it before, do you have the courage to be the first? Or are you too afraid of failure to even try? Sometimes you just need to take a leap of faith and not to be afraid of failure, because failure becomes your greatest teacher. Once you have the tenacity and boldness to know the way and go the way, that's when you show the way to others. And in effect, you have influenced the decision of those who have chosen to be under your leadership. Participants, I hope you make full use of the knowledge and insights shared by each speaker these 2 days and apply it in your own lives. I hope you'll start to see yourselves as leaders and start developing yourself as a unique, confident, different makers. You have taken the first step by being here today. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. I hope you'll think of MIGPA, think of me when you decide to step into the accounting profession. We are always here to provide guidance and advice if needed. With that, I officiate I-WELD Leadership Program 2021. All the best. Thank you. Off to you, Diana.
Thank you very much, Mr. Novi, for your brilliant words and for officiating our program today. I am truly inspired by his words, and yes, I agree. We definitely need more of this program to develop the next generation of leaders. And also on behalf of I-WELD, I would like to express my greatest gratitude towards Mr. Novi for being our officiator for ILP 2021. Participants, we will now begin our first module. For today's session, our invited panels will be sharing their knowledge as well as their experiences related to Leadership 101. This module is designed specifically to help our participants get better insight what leadership is all about. We believe that it is important for youth to equip themselves with leadership skills that will surely help them in the workforce. We also agree that leadership is not just for the youth, but leadership is for all ages. I would like to advise participants to pay full attention during the session, and if you can, take out your notebook and write as many points that you can get from the session. The reason why I wish for our participants to focus is because we are going to have a Kahoot session later. The top winners will get a special recognition certificate that could be useful for you to insert in your CV and resume. Must I also remind that participants must mute your microphones at all times and just type in your questions for the speakers in the chat box below. And without wasting any more time, I will now pass the floor to our moderator for Module 1, Ms. Priya, as she will lead today's discussion with our invited speakers, Mr. Benjamin Kroc, Ms. Isabella Lindberg, Ms. Jasmine Peters, and Mr. Benjamin Loh. Ms. Priya, the e-floor is now yours.
Thank you, Diana, and I really appreciate everyone joining. As initially Diana said, that you must have been doing something else, but you chose to be here for Greater Good and help a lot of people. So those who don't know me, I'm Priya Mishra. I run an agency called Corporality, which is management consulting firm specialized in marketing and sales. Our businesses are in a global floor in Europe, UK, Australia, and our head office is in Australia and of course in India as well. We have been helping a lot of youth in Indian underprivileged, and I am very glad to be part of it, where I believe youth is the future. So without further delay, I would like to invite all of to in one by one, and you guys can also introduce yourself. And with that, we can actually initiate the question answer. So I hope it's all good from here. So how about we'll start from my right is Benjamin Kroc. Benjamin Kroc, would you be able to? Yes, okay, you are able to unmute. Thank you. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Unmute. I was scared I would have trouble unmuting like Novi, but it seems that now it has been solved. So, yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks everyone for being here. Thanks for having me, and I mean, congrats for putting up such a great program to the I-WELD team. And Novi, the intro you did was up to point. So I think now our work will be to expand on whatever you say during the coming hour. But that's really great. I encourage everyone to rewind and look at at Novi's speech earlier. So in terms of a short presentation of myself, so I'm French. I'm not sure if you've heard from my accent already, but I've been in Malaysia for slightly over 10 years. I actually started my professional experience in Malaysia after a few years as an accountant and financial auditor. So once again, I cannot do anything else than confirm what Novi said earlier. So I worked a few years with PwC in France as a financial auditor, and then I came to Malaysia to manage a shared service center, a finance shared service center, which is, I think, a sector that is thriving in Malaysia and hiring a lot of accountants and financial literate people. From there, actually, I wanted to discover a bit more, so I completed an MBA at INSEAD before coming back to Kuala Lumpur to work with McKinsey, which is a consulting firm, after which I joined Lazada as the head of strategy for Malaysia. I have no responsibility in any delayed parcel, I swear, but I tried to get as many coupons and discounts as I could to everyone. So after Lazada, I decided to embark on my own entrepreneurial journey, and I co-founded Brio HR. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of Brio HR, which is an all-in-one HR management platform. So really helping companies getting as efficient as possible in terms of managing the employee journey from recruitment and onboarding all the way through performance and so on.
Right.
We'll have opportunities to talk more about this later.
Thank you. And next is to you is Benjamin Lowe. Can I invite you, Benjamin? Yes, please introduce yourself if it's possible.
Yep, definitely. So thank you so much, Priya, as well as the team and committee for having me. So as with Benjamin, I think I have several similarities coincidentally. Besides sharing the first same name, I used to be studying accounting as well. The fortunate or not so fortunate thing was that I turned down an offer from a Big Four. I went to a career where it took me to do a lot of corporation selling, and today I run my own training and consultancy outfit from Singapore. I'm a Singaporean that's based in Singapore. Briefly about my work, I speak and train across 9 countries in Asia. So anywhere from here to Singapore and also in China, and most recently in the Middle East as well. A lot of my work is helping corporations make sense of all of you. Because when I was a young person graduating to the workforce about 9 years ago, a lot of my mentors or even like bosses then, they didn't understand, like, why would young people go into the office with a Starbucks in the cup? Why would they be sort of always on their phones? And now with this resurgence of TikTok, tomorrow is 10:10. I'm keeping my eyes on Lazada as well as Shopee. I think we have so many things that's going on. So my job is really to go into different corporations and help leaders to harness and withdraw and retrieve the best from the next generation. So I think today my insights hopefully will give you a bit of light, a bit of insight, as well as a bit of value in terms of navigating what may come your way. Like when you're about to graduate, when you're finding your first career mentor, maybe when you're planning to settle down with your special someone, how do you navigate this whole big world? And I think that's where leadership comes in. I think leadership doesn't have to come in the form or in a manifestation of leading a big company. That is great. But I think leadership sometimes starts with ourselves. Like, how do we lead ourselves? How do we orient ourselves? And how do we be the best versions of ourselves? So that's from me.
I always believe leadership is very much about your vision and living that vision. And then, as Novi said, that it is a path to show, right? So once you have the ability to path to show, that's where people start following automatically. You don't have to let them, follow. And once you start leading, then the journey starts together. When you bring that. So next to me, Jasmine, I would like you to introduce yourself.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Priya. First and foremost, thank you very much, I-WELD and Mr. Novi for having me on this panel. I'm very excited to hear from the rest of you and to learn. Just listening to the introductions, I've learned so much. I'm always very amazed with people who go out and do their own thing and set up things which are very rooted in growth. And I think that is really honorable, and it's also very humbling. Just a little bit about my background. I started my career as a law lecturer, and here I am today as a management consultant. I lead the experience consulting practice in PwC Malaysia. So yes, Benjamin, one of your ex-colleagues in a way, I guess. I don't know at which point in time you were in PwC in France. But what I do is I take within the employee experience space, I look at, of course, change management, the whole organizational transformation. I look into culture, employee value proposition, and also the consumer behaviors. So there's a whole string of things that I look into. And yes, when I listen to Benjamin and I hear both the Benjamins here, Mr. Lowe and Mr. Kroc, it would be good to see how organizations like yourself can actually help us, especially also contemporize as you work with other organizations. So that's very interesting. Besides that, I hope that today my experiences, having worked with a couple of organizations, and I also did do my own setup for a while when I took a 7-year break from the corporate sector to take care of my family. I hope those experiences will enrich you and give you some aha moments, and hopefully that will make you create your own path, right, with more gusto, and determination.
Yes. Thank you,
Let's hear from the
Jasmine.
rest.
And I'm looking forward to hearing all of you. It's a journey where when you start and you embark on the different stages of your life, and that's the experience you actually wants to showcase. I mean, and that I'm sure there will be a lot of youth would be looking forward to it. That what if I'm gonna take break? What if I'm gonna? That will also allow them not to be scared of taking the steps. That is gonna change a lot. My journey was very large experience in one life in itself, and I always believe that a lot of time people don't take a chance because of that little scarcity in a corner of your heart. And I'm sure there will be a lot of learning will be happening for the youth here. Looking forward to discuss further more. I would like to invite Isabella.
Hello, hello. Great to
Hello,
be here with all of you here, and I enjoyed it listening to your introductions and backgrounds. I come from background, so growing up in Europe and living in 5 different countries. US is my 6th. A very early journey as a young adult. On work that on my own with no parents or anyone to necessarily work through that process, right? Not only in different cultures, but also in the different styles and whatnot, and obviously landing here in the United States. But one of the beautiful thing is, as I listened to you, is opportunity that I had to work with people from over 120 countries and deal with very strong cross-cultural stuff. So not only from culture within organization, but cultures where these organizations operate around the world, and the beauty that what connect us and what bring us together, and how we can truly learn from each other. How can we thrive and be successful? My background ranges also from global business management to always fascinating new trends in not only in leadership, but also in legacy. I funded Legacy Leader Institute as a result of gaps that I'm seeing. When we think about it, we have over 7.9 billion of people in this world, and we have the all-time high deficit of quality, high caliber leaders competent to lead in current times. So you have amazing opportunity to shine and show what you are made of and what you want to be and who you want to be, and to lead the way. So I'm thrilled to share more on this panel and be partaking in this discussion.
Very nice, thank you. And I am sure that a long time ago when I was reading a book in Sanskrit, which was Atato Gumakkar Jigyasha, means you have an extreme curiosity to actually travel and learn, right? My dad used to say whether you can learn by 2 ways, either by book or by traveling, right? You go explore world and you learn. Every experience is a new experience and a learning which you embark in your journey when you are starting. I would like to go further. Is I-WELD Malaysia? Somebody is there? If not, then we can move on to the question answer. And I want to hear a lot from all of you guys. Thank you so much for joining in today. And let's start with the questions I have been receiving, before we got it and before we initiated it. These are the very common questions from everybody, from me, from the youth, from the next generation. Leadership, I believe it's a growing career pathway, and it has a huge opportunity, and so millions and billions of people are actually starting out the businesses, and in every business, every walks of life, every kind of a organization would require a leadership ability. Whether you are when you start itself, you have to start showcasing things. And one of the scientists I was reading, Mr. Abdul Kalam Azad, he used to say that if you don't have the opportunity, create it. So here we are helping you to create the future for you with these great leaders here. And with that, in your opinion, I'm gonna throw this question to all of you, but I would start with the Benjamin to answer this. In your opinion, what is your definition of a leadership?
So I guess I'm the Benjamin you refer to, but we will all go through anyway. For me, the definition of leadership is first very open. I mean, what I see a lot is that people who aim at showing, at demonstrating leadership, at becoming leaders and so on, sometimes start by thinking that they have to look like someone else, like one of the renowned leaders and so on. And I personally think that leadership can be aligned with any personality, in fact. So it's just about your own way to do leadership, to lead a team, to lead people, to lead yourself, as I've heard earlier, and which is very relevant. So then, what is my definition of leadership? To me, is being able to define a goal, to define a vision, a mission, and to know how to get there. So that's why it echoes again what Novi said earlier, but it's not, in my opinion, about knowing every single step of the way. This is pretty much impossible, especially if the mission and vision is bold, actually. If we talk about the great entrepreneurs of these times and recent times, like like we always refer to Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and so on. Yeah, they kind of knew what they wanted to do, what they wanted to achieve, but they had no clue who they would hire in order to do that. And then a few years later, they have 100,000 people in their company. So of course, they couldn't know who to hire, when, what, exactly what to do, and so on. So to me, it's really being animated by a goal, by a vision, and then being able to provide guidance to people who will embark on the adventure with you. And by guidance, I insist a lot. I use the word guidance in opposition to the word orders or even instructions. Those are sometimes needed. Sometimes it depends on the setup. It depends on maybe the general mood, the general environment, like is it crisis mode or not, and so on, where you have to adjust a bit your communication style. But I think by communicating on your goal, vision, and by providing guidance to the people around you, that's to me what makes leadership. And of course, then there are 1,000 ways to actually embody this.
Yeah, for sure. How about you, Benjamin?
Yep, I would totally echo whatever Ben from France is saying, that leadership, there's no one mode or one mold to that. And I think sometimes when we read books from famous leadership academics or so-called like professors as well, sometimes we get too fixated on what we think leadership can be, should be, and has to be. And so I just wanted to play a little quick game with all our attendees today. So the first question to ask everyone, which I hope you can just like drop in your responses into the chat. Do you think that leaders are born, or do you think that leaders are made? Right? Do you think that leaders are born or leaders are made? So what do I mean by that? Do you feel that some people are born with a certain kind of leadership, with charisma, with the ability to take initiative and lead? So if that's your answer, please put in 1. Or do you feel certain leaders may not be born with certain X factor, but they are able to rise to the needs of the occasion, the circumstances, they're able to rally people, and that all those things can be learned, right? If it's 1, please type in 1. If it's 2, please type in 2, right? So if I look across the entire stream of conversations, a lot of you are saying, yes, leaders are made, it's a learnable skill, learnable trait. And I think fundamentally that really aligns to what I think I've picked up along the way, whether from literature, and one of the books I think Mr. Novi has mentioned is from John C. Maxwell. He speaks about these 5 levels of leadership, speaking from, like, for example, the lowest level from positional leadership to permission, to production, to people development, and the highest is pinnacle, which is, people just see you as a leader because the energy, the insights, the kind of like aura or the kind of presence that you have just inspires people to be better. So I think in a very long-winded response, put it into a 1 sentence, I think for me, a leader is anyone who rallies together resources as well as insights and energies to help other people to get better. So if you're already doing that in your small or big capacity, in your varied capacity, in your physical or remote capacity, I think you should celebrate that you are a leader as well. So we don't have to really be like CEOs to call ourselves a leader. Sometimes even the CEOs of big corporations may not be leading people as well as good as someone who's running a small restaurant, right? So that's really my opinion.
And there are a lot of people are actually saying both. Some people are saying made. Some people are actually saying leaders are actually, better be talking to. If someone says, I think leaders are born and they make teamless better by taking chances and learning enough every journey. Interesting. It's going very interesting response we got, but it was quite mixed, and there are a lot of people are saying made. I believe on both, but sometimes some people are born, some people have to work and create that process. I believe leadership is a journey. It's a process which you create. That's my personal opinion to answer your question, Benjamin. that if suppose you are, fell in love with your first time you're with your girlfriend or your partner you're gonna live your life with, you don't go just one fine day, as Simon Sink also talked about it. You don't wake up today at 8 o'clock, and you say, oh, I fell in love with my partner. No, it's a journey, the little things. And the more you get closer, the more things you do with each other or for each other, I believe that's how your love actually gets stronger and stronger. Similarly, for me, leadership becomes a process. Even if you are a born leader, you have to go through that journey and process to achieve. And that's my personal opinion. Jasmine, I would come to that. What do you think about that?
My opinion of leaders, Priya, I've been around for a bit and have had great opportunities working with some really remarkable leaders. And I've also had my fair share of those who embrace the role of leader, or rather are given the role of a leader simply because of their title and position, but may not exhibit the qualities and behaviors that would actually be that of what we expect of a leader.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I feel a leader is somebody who can bring out the best in you.
Yeah.
A leader is somebody who knows you actually a little more than you actually know yourself. One who believes in you even when you haven't started to believe in yourself. Right? That person who is able to bring that extra out of you. And sometimes you may not even like what they're doing, but on hindsight, in retrospect, as we say, we are all cleverer. You're able to see how the attributes, the qualities, and the behavior of this person actually made you or shaped you along the way into this extra person that you are now. So I think that's something that's very, very important, right? I think trust is a commodity that we say a lot. And it's always that, we ask people, we tell our staff to trust, we must trust. We use the word quite loosely. But I think a good leader is able to see potential and allow you to go, right, and try, because they trust that you will learn and you will come back stronger, even if you fail. And I think they might sound very motherhood, but these are really attributes of a good leader. Right. And that's what I would say. And what if I can say anything before we go on to the next question is the fact that we must not be taken up by the delusion of our titles and position. And I think Benjamin has talked about that. I think Mr. Novi has also spoken about that, right? It is not your title. It is not your position, but it's the responsibility and the perception of, and it's also how you behave, right? Sure. And the thing is, everyone is watching. There's a subconscious aspect of what they see, and there's also the subconscious of what they pick up. And oftentimes the subconscious is very, very powerful. So we need to be very mindful, especially whether or not we are in a leading position or we are in a position of strong responsibility. Right. Be very mindful of our messaging. Yep.
Yeah. Right. How about you, Isabel? You have to unmute it.
Okay. I will answer this from a couple of different perspectives. First of all, as a behavioralist and somebody who studied leadership, not only by degree, but also over the decades and reading the books and concepts and where we're going as a humanity, on the basic level for new generation, for you guys that are starting off, it is a combination of the traits you are born with, things that brings you in and that are available to you based on who you are individually. And then combination of the traits that you are going to develop in order to lead better and to be better. Of course, leadership, it's a process, but to be the leader and ultimately to lead the way, it's about showing up and that consistency in how do you show up as a human being. From a behavioral standpoint, with your compassion, with your kindness, one great example would be Gandhi. What he had, how he created, before we even throw charisma and the power and the title and position and location and geographic region and influence, right? When we come back to human basics, we're really looking on human level, how we connect, how we interact, how genuine we are. What is on our agenda is of servitude and wanted to support and help other human being, or putting our own agenda up front and trying to lead the way. When we live with purpose, when we live with our specific direction, when we're motivated, when we're really driven and passionate about, then, and when we live the mission, shared vision and goals, all of those things then start unfolding. So that's something where majority of people usually start, really looking into it, what this means to me and how do I relate to that? And then you start expanding and more with your position, with your title, in terms of industry, in terms of people and clientele you interact, then you start building other aspects of it, right? So now looking from the high level, from C-suite, where I spend quite a bit of time, and looking power player in different geographic regions, and specifically focus here, Fortune 500 United States, from past work, not only in consulting, but in advisory and strategic alignments and change. We right now have one of the greatest opportunities where we see not only gap in skill set, but also a need to lead into the future. What those traits and opportunities are, and are we willing to work and put that extra work? So majority of you are accountants. You have to do regulated stuff that your industry is asking you for. But what you also have to do, make a conscious decision that I am 24/7 showing up consistent as who I am and leading the way, the result, regardless if somebody is watching or not. Meaning that is additional extra work that many people don't do. That's why we have a huge deficit here right now on the global scale, and tremendous opportunity, because it's not easy. It is not only just ongoing learning, and it's not just putting yourself out there, but is also vulnerability and knowing, as mentioned earlier, not telling that I'm not sure, I don't know all the answers, but I am doing my best, and knowing that you're doing your best every single day. So again, it is as a concept, obviously process, but as an action to be a leader, it is more than that. And it's a greatest opportunity right now to define it and refine it for yourself individually, for environment you're growing up into, and environment you're working with, meaning your talent, your organization, and overall impact that you want to create with that.
Right. So, I mean, and that kind of answered, which I was wanted to ask the next question, like how we can actually instill those qualities in youth, right? So, as you said, you have to define it and then refine it to instill that quality in during the youth and the process you go through as you grow in your life, in your career, and different pathway. What do you think, Jasmine? How can we instill those qualities in youth? What is your view?
Youth, thanks, Priya. For me, youth, as you said, Priya, earlier, is the future, right? They are the future, and they are coming in fast, and they're coming in strong. So I think for youth themselves, they themselves must ask themselves a very pertinent question. Who do I want to be, right? And I think that must come from within. You must ask yourself, what is your purpose? And what do you really want to achieve? And to also be prepared that that journey will be filled with challenges. Some very sweet, and some can be extremely bitter. While I hope it will be less bitter for you than it can be sometimes, but nonetheless, I think you need to accept, right? So the resolve of who you want to be and to be very focused is going to be exceptionally important, because there'll be a lot of distraction that will come your way. If I may just share, right? And I think for youth is very important, right? To find leaders who actually believe in you, right? And where you can be your vulnerable self and they will still be there for you. Okay, find leaders who are, or mentors as you start your careers, or as you go into uni, or as with whatever life journey you choose. Mentors who are going to be very firm, but nonetheless extremely kind. And by that, it doesn't mean being soft, but they will give you the facts head on. Now that's important, right? So you need to learn to get feedback. I always say feedback is a huge mechanism that helps you grow. And sometimes it won't be very nice to swallow, but you know what? It will help you grow. If I can just share a few very quick stories with you. When I was in school, this was my earliest youth lesson, which has stayed with me till today. And now I'm much, much, much older, right? And this was when I was doing my O-level exams, and we were in a class filled with girls, right? 50 of us, exceptionally noisy. For those of you in Malaysia, I was in Convent Bukit Nana, so you can imagine. 17 years old, we thought we were the hottest things on the planet. We didn't listen to anybody, right? And usually the teachers would just scream and leave their class. This lady, however, Mrs. Lee, God bless her, came in and she just stood there, and we were a reckless, noisy bunch. And she just sat there, and she just stood there and smiled. She's full of grace and smile. And eventually, I think we got a bit embarrassed of ourselves. And slowly the noise settled to a pin drop silence. And you know what she said? She didn't walk out on us. She didn't scold us. Still with full of grace, she looked at us with a smile and she said, "Girls, if you give something your best, believe that only the best will come back to you. And now that you've decided to settle down, I will start the geography class. And thereafter, because somebody believed in us, it's messaging, right? I always say. And we sat there and we said, my goodness, this lady believes in us, and here we are being a reckless bunch. Thereafter, 100 meters away, the class monitor would say, she's coming, and you all just settle in and settle down. Right? So I think that's important, right? And sometimes you don't, as we said earlier, I think many of the speakers shared as well, you don't need to have fancy titles or fancy things or read fancy things as statements, right? But just watch the actions and learn off and feed off that energy. That's very important. And just to show you about the power of feedback, I had the great opportunity to work with the CEO of Citibank Malaysia in the very start of my career. And he ran, at that point, the country's most profitable bank against the larger giants that we had. We were 1,000 people strong against your Maybank and CIMB, who were the giants at that point, but we were the most profitable. A remarkable man, very quiet. And I was 25 years old at that point, and he would ask me what everybody in the room thought about him and his message after the meeting. And I would shiver, right? Because I had no idea, what do I say to my CEO? Because whether it's going to be a career limiting move, what do I say? And because I had nothing to ride on, I told him the truth. I told him what I felt and I saw, right? And to me, what really struck me until today will always be the most wonderful experience for me in my career was working with him, though I shivered half the time. But the fact that he kept asking me, and he would look me in the eye because he was waiting for earnest feedback. CEO running the country's largest, most profitable bank didn't need to ask this know-nothing 25-year-old. I knew nothing, but he asked me because he wanted feedback to make sure he was hitting the right notes, he was doing the right thing. And that humility to me, has always, it keeps reminding me, it keeps grounding me that no matter how high you are, please make sure you check whether everybody else is aligned to you, right? And I think what Isabella just said, right? She talks about strategic alignment. That's so important, especially as you go out. Strategic alignment when you work in organizations is so key, but strategic alignment to your needs and your higher purpose of what you want as individuals, as youth, I think is very important. That's what I have to say for now.
Very, very interesting stories and great to hear from your experience. And I always believe there, you don't need too many people in your life to believe in you. It's just handful of people can believe in you, and they will take you to the pathway and the journey you can't even imagine in your today's day. You don't know what is holding future, but you need that few people to believe in you, and your path will be very clear. I'm coming back to this question to you, Benjamin Crock, and how can we instill those qualities in youth?
I think there are of course a few ways, and given the very inspirational answers given by all the panelists and Jasmine just now, I try to be as practical as possible. I like to be basic and practical as well sometimes, and basically I would say that the two maybe starting points, I would not say most important things, but maybe very important things to start with at least, is to provide opportunities. So whenever a teacher, the teacher in Jasmine's story, Miss Lee, she provided an opportunity for them to think on themselves during those few seconds. And that trajectory was impactful. So it can be any kind of opportunity. It's not a project to lead and so on. I'm not talking about crazy things, but opportunities to, practice the skills of a leader. So opportunities to get confronted to feedback, opportunities to have the power of thinking for yourself and appreciating the impact of what you just thought about. Like let's shut up and start the geography class. Actually, they came up with that themselves based on the nudge, on the behavior of the teacher. So I would say the first thing is provide opportunities, because we learn from people. We learn from people, and we learn from people by seeing them do things, talk, and so on and so on. So even though we try to tell ourselves today, it will be less impactful to the audience as the people that they will be able to observe doing and again talking and talking the talk, but also walking the walk in the day-to-day life. So to me, the first one is provide opportunities, and the second one is a very corollary to that. It's for every one of us to learn ourselves is to get started with something. By getting started with something, by taking initiative, because leadership is also about initiatives. By taking initiative as small or as big as we can, it's really when we realize that we too can be leaders. I'm taking a very small example to really illustrate my point, and it's super basic. A lot of us in our youth, and still actually to this day, I'm not very young anymore. I would not be characterized as the youth compared to the audience. But basically, it's cool when we organize, I don't know, a birthday party for a friend, and we will be a group of us gathering for the birthday party. And usually what happens is that out of 10, 20 people, one or two systematically take the lead to organize the birthday party, to organize the holidays, to say what time we fly, from where, which flight, book the flight. And then it's just about following up, sometimes even paying on behalf, and then trying to organize the collection of the money from everyone and so on. So that's super trivial example. That's something that every one of us is confronted to when we are young. So my belief is that forcing ourselves to organize the next get together, booking a restaurant, and booking a restaurant, why some of us don't do it is because we might feel, but if they don't like the restaurant, it's not good on me. I would have chosen a restaurant. So it's very simple things. If finally it's late, or if it's, I'm not sure the budget they have. So if I suggest something that is too cheap for those who have big budget, or too expensive for those who don't have a budget, they will be resentful. Whatever it is, that we always find ways to not be confident about stuff. But actually, organizing a dinner with friends is actually fairly straightforward, and very seldom friends will resent you for life because, I don't know, they wanted some different food or whatever. So for me, providing opportunities to youth is equally important for everyone to provide their own opportunities to show micro leadership. We will not ask you if you are 15 years old, 20 years old, even 25-year-old to lead Apple. You will not get to train on this right away, right? But if you understand that doing things, actually I could do it. That's the first aha moment. Someone mentioned the aha moments earlier. Actually I can do it. And that's the first aha moment. Then let's say you screw it up. The restaurant is not good. And then you see that your friends are still your friends. Second aha moment. And to me, that's the foundation towards becoming a leader with the tools and at the scale to which you are exposed when you are young. And then, of course, you start working, you do it in the workplace, and so on and so on. But starting by realizing failure is okay, the earth will still, go around, and so on and so on. That's to me the good foundation of leadership. So again, providing opportunities, but also providing ourselves opportunities to acquire those skills.
Yeah. And see, the problem is always there. As we can see that, Gandhi was mentioned. Gandhi, if he would have not initiated the first time, the whatever racial issues were going on in Africa, the issue would have not been solved, right? Somebody actually stand up for that. So if you find a issue and if you find a reason to stand up, stand up, and there will be never nothing is right, but progress is always better than perfection, right? So if you keep progressing and you keep trying, you are not here to please everybody. You can try to be. We are a social people. We can try to be pleasing people, but unless you try, you don't know what's gonna happen. So better you try, and then you say, okay, this was my mistakes and this was my actually learning, and you move on to that. And that's where Gandhi started. When one battle, he came to India, people didn't know him, right? He never educated in India. He came to India, he was no one, and he initiated himself that no, I have to be part of it, because he believed in it. Believe in yourself, then you believe in your cause, and then the other part of the other people will definitely believe in you. Having said that, I have one, Benjamin, I want to come back to you and asking, how do you think how we can instill those quality in youth?
I'll just add one alternative as well as what I think would be a very different dimension to it. I feel great leadership, in fact, great followership precedes great leadership, meaning to say, if we want to be great leaders, I think we really need to work from the bottom. And this reminds me of when it was about 2007 or 2008, I went through a transformative life coaching program. It was when I managed to process some of my inner traumas, a few of the skeletons in the closet, because I grew up being a serial bully victim. So from 7 to 17 years old, I was pretty much in boys' school. I was laughed at, I was jeered at. I never really grew up with a very positive self-esteem. And I think that program planted a few seeds of consciousness. And the second part of the life coaching program was actually going to a leadership program. And back then I was 21 years old, out of national service. And I was a leader of sorts in the army as well. So I was saying, hey, what do I not know about leadership, right? And I was looking forward to go to a seminar room, taking out swanking notebooks, looking at fancy screens, hearing different speakers. It was interesting because the master coach then came in and say, okay, welcome to leadership program. We call this LP for short. And the first task of your leadership program journey, follow me. And then everyone was really puzzled, like, aren't we already there? Like everyone has well seated our bums on the seats. It's all warmed up and we're ready to start at 9 a.m. on a Saturday. Little that we know that he told us to set aside everything. We didn't even need writing materials. We don't need pen, paper, pencil, whatever it is. And he told us to roll up our sleeves. And we say what? Why are we rolling up our sleeves? So persons by persons, he led us down the hallway, made a right turn, and then said, your first task in this leadership program is to learn how to wash a toilet bowl. And I kid you not, we learned how to wash a toilet bowl. And being a Singaporean, I do not know whether it's the same in Malaysia or in France. I do not know how many of you actually wash your own toilet bowls, but that was the first time in 20 years of my life, someone asked me to wash my toilet bowl. And that was that moment I also thanked my mom for washing the toilet bowls in my home for the longest time. That was the most humbling experience because you literally get close to whatever you should be close to when you're washing a toilet bowl. You learn to scrub. You learn to make sure that stains are removed. You make sure that the odors that you thought were terrible in public toilets, now you got to deal with it and restore things. So I think in the whole experience, in the first 1 month, we were just doing how to mop floor, how to wash a toilet bowl, how to clean mirrors, how to set up a room, then make it zen, orient to the front. We learned that for the first 1 month. And I think, to summarize what I've learned, I think sometimes experience is the best teacher that's available, right? We can go read books, but what Priya mentioned, or Priya's dad mentioned, go travel. And I think when you travel, the experience, the people that you meet, or even the challenges that you go through shape you and shape your paradigm. So I think for me, those very simple lessons of washing a toilet bowl taught me first to look at things from the ground up. Because it's only when you put yourself into the shoes as well as the perspective of people you're leading, you never really can lead with empathy. You never really know what they're struggling with. It's only with this sense of empathy, then you can lead with a lot more care, a lot more concern. You know when to detach and when to attach. So that's my 2 cents. Yep.
Very interesting. I mean, experience is the best teacher. I mean, we all learn, whether we can learn from the other's experience or our own experience. And this is what we are doing today. We are sharing our experience so that our youth can learn. And as we say that it is a future, then if you are gonna learn something by yourself, or rather you will save your time and energy and your money, and you learn from somebody else's experience, and you can apply in your life, and that is gonna change the whole process, the whole outcome. The journey will be faster. And that's why we believe in the old wisdom. The leadership is when your mother actually asks you to do something, when your mother started teaching you at the very beginning that let's do together. My mom used to say, you can teach your children only by example, not by telling, right? So once you start showing this example, Benjamin,
so I just want to say that if your moms and dad ask you to do housework, please jolly well do it. There's a lesson behind it. Okay, they're preparing you to be leaders in the days to come.
Yeah, and it's a life skill. It's a life skill when your parents teaches you something, and they show you by example. They are not the one who are just throwing you, because until you become self-sufficient, they are giving you that example. They are working with you, togetherness, the leadership, the togetherness, the sibling act, the house chore. Little things makes a lot of difference in your life by doing that example. And I believe it's a very important lesson we learn from home. you know. And that brings to my next question. Could you share some tips, Benjamin, I'll come to you. Could you share some tips and tricks to develop leadership within youth?
Yeah, I mean, all what we discussed till now actually are great elements of it, and again, I do believe that there is a need for the balance between like watching, learning, and doing. So referring to my very practical, basic point, and all this is supposed to show you how to emulate the practices you like, the practices you observe from people who might resonate with you and so on. And at the same time, that's participants, and also to help you build again the confidence. Leadership is a lot, in my opinion, about confidence. Confidence that you will not suffer the huge consequences of initiatives you take and so on and so on. And to me, it really starts a lot with that. Today, I've been building with the team, with my co-founders and so on, Brio HR, which basically every day, tomorrow morning, I don't know what I should do, and the day after that, I don't know what I should do, and we are still trying to figure it out. But if we are able to do it and in a way lead this adventure of building this company, is because we have understood that only by doing you will move forward, and if you fail along the way, again, nothing bad happens. When you are at peace with this, that's, in my opinion, where you can easily become a leader, again, at your scale, in your interests and so on, and no matter, again, your personality and so on. So it's really, for me, do. There is no better than doing. And of course, doing doesn't mean doing blindly. Get inspiration from the leaders of this world. Get inspiration from your parents, again, because I really also agree with everyone that leaders are not only the nation leaders, the big companies leaders and so on leaders. They are everywhere. They are everywhere. They are your friend who organized the previous birthday party and who might be happy for you to take over for this year, actually. So everyone can be a leader from whom to get inspiration from, but do and realize that it's okay. And then you do again and you do again and you do greater things and greater things, whatever you want. In fact, at some point, it's not an obligation to become a leader either. So it's really up to you.
I believe I read a book long time ago, and it says that unless you do mistakes, you don't know if you did the right way, right? So it's not the final outcome; it's the journey and if you're not learning with that doing, that's where the problem is start. If you learn something from that doing mistake, then it's all good, right? Because it's a part of your life. It's a life skill you learn at that moment. I'll come to the Isabella on that. What do you think? What's your tip for the youth?
I just want to thank you so much, Priya. Great conversation and discussion. And I wanted to kind of highlight a couple of things here.
Yeah.
We're born with certain specifics, right? With our own individual DNA. And then we're born into something, meaning that initial environment we're raised into, which is our family and distant family. And then we're getting into educational systems and they shaped us further, right? So it's very important to really focus on three things. Have that self-esteem and confidence and believing in yourself. Because in order for somebody else to believe in you, you need to first know, and it's very important to recognize, do you have a nurturing environment at home? Do you have a nurturing environment at school? And do you have a nurturing environment at work? Right now, what we're seeing is that a lot of people, unfortunately, are not as blessed to have all three, right? And most likely, actually, some of them don't even have any of those three. And yet people still start thinking and progressing on their own to figure it out. What behavior is positive, what behavior really leads them to something exceptional, and what behavior doesn't. And it's a great opportunity to, instead of being in that groupthink mentality, to self-think and self-identify what that means. So I will encourage everyone, every single youth that is listening and watching this for a moment, because this is one of the most important lessons that I think helped me and my journey. And I think that can help you exponentially, because I work with so many people who've been exposed to environments where they lost everything that they could possibly identify. I work with people who survived genocide, torture, rape, human traffic, who were human trafficked in different parts of the world, war, genocide, ethnic cleansing, all those gruesome bad things that occurred to them, right? And when you look at about that, it's like, what was left? Every single one of them, specifically youth that I work with, said that memories, conversations that they have with their elders, with their grandparents, the foundation they walked away from the home, brought up back how to move forward, that inner strength and inner knowledge, and already constrained or created foundation who they are as individuals, which actually was fundamentally the stepping stone who they are already as a leaders and who they wanted to be to move forward. And the reason I'm sharing that, so when you strip everything you have, what do you have left? Nobody can take your knowledge. Nobody can take away your memories. Nobody can take away your experiences. So I can't agree more. More we can allow to create these experiences, and more we can create environments where youth can learn and allow them to fail. Because right now, for example, in the United States and culture and environments that we're in, finally, we're seeing the leaders allowing their employees to test and drive and fail and fix and then improve and move forward. Because as adults, we're taught we cannot fail, we need to figure it out, we need to know. And right now, because of magnitude of change and what is happening, it's impossible to know all the answers and know what's going to work unless we try, because we're in the same time learning, innovating, problem solving, critically thinking, and in the same time making something happen. So we never had a faster speed and closer opportunity to look at things simultaneously. So for the youth that is super smart, bright, eager, passionate, driven, I really want to encourage you to really look at what really drives you, what motivates you, who you are right now, this moment, and then where would you like to be? And then make sure and pay attention that you're in the right educational system that truly supports you, regardless where your parents work or how much money they make or identity that you're born into. Organizations that want you to partake and work for them, how they're treating you, how they are supporting you, what they're creating, are they giving you opportunities to have a wider business exposure? Either undermine your intelligence or giving you a little bit more to stretch you and push you further. Others are giving you opportunities and roles with more responsibilities because you're so bright, you're so capable. Are they speaking to you as an adult and treating you still as a child? Because we see a lot of that too, right? Are they to consider you as an equal? And do they demonstrate that, not what they say, but actually what they do? They're also offering you opportunities to be part of the real business solutions so they can allow you to build your critical thinking and problem solving. Are they supporting you in ways where it matters, where you know, as Jasmine was mentioning earlier, how important trust is, to create a trust and working environment when you can raise the hand and say, I'm sorry, but I disagree with this, or I'm looking things from very different perspective, and you feel comfortable that you can share that. Are you having phenomenal mentors and coaches that don't have a hidden agenda, or mentors, but they truly are invested purely to see you succeed and unfold as an amazing human being with tremendous potential and as a great contributor beyond of their organization? And then obviously, but it's been mentioned a second ago, importance of the feedback, the constructive feedback, the healthy feedback, where there's no negativity and toxicity and play and power play and diminishing each other, but really where we reward questions and ask smart questions. We're not afraid to ask them, but we're also not afraid to fail and not afraid to learn and start all over again. So I would really encourage you to pay attention, because you hold the key, what you will accept, what you will tolerate, and how far you're willing to go.
Yeah. And I always believe, in my company, I always say that I'm hiring a brain, right? So I don't want to treat you as a puppet. So better you start using it and be active, be participant, join the team. Don't be a listener. Otherwise, and I want to see everyone is individual leader. It's a flat system rather than having an organizational. Yes, we do need somebody to take the initiative just because of the accountability reason. Otherwise, I believe everybody should take the part in the journey and the company you are trying to create. I would like to come to on this, Benjamin Law, and I want to ask you: was there a situation that you encountered which impacted your journey as a leader?
Yeah. So I think in the interest of time, I'll keep my story pretty short. I think it didn't happen to me firsthand, but I think this story really taught me a few lessons about leadership. And there's this saying, I'm not too sure many of you or some of you may have heard, is sometimes people or leaders will lament like how leadership is lonely at the top. I, for the first hand, noticed how that was true for a good friend of mine, and that totally went wayward in the wrong direction. Recently, we also celebrated the World Mental Health Day. And I think, if you are already a leader or you're a leader to be, I think one of the lessons that I hope you walk away with, leadership doesn't really have to be lonely. I mean, there are times whereby you feel you're struggling alone, nobody shares your vision, but the whole context of leadership is to bring people together, to rally people together towards a common vision and goal. So this happened about 6 to 7 years ago. I reconnected with a primary school friend of mine, and back then I was posting on Facebook. I was pretty active in organizing networking events, and it was a breakfast networking event, and a gentleman by the name of Jay, he came over. And at first I thought he was just like one of the 5,000 friends I had on Facebook. Nothing special. He was just interested in business and networking. I love his energy from the start. He runs an education business. So like in Malaysia, as with Singapore, there's a lot of focus on rote learning. What he did was that he started a school called Blockbuster Learning, Blockbuster English, where young children could learn English, like, for example, watching The Incredibles, watching many cartoons and Hollywood films in the right way, of course. And then you can start to pick up better skills, because that's so much more of a game and play. And after the whole networking breakfast, he came to me and said, Ben, do you recall me? And I said, yeah, I recall you. Obviously, we chatted on Facebook, and that's why you're here, right? No, he said, Ben, do you recall me? And then I ducked into my recesses. I couldn't remember. He said, Ben, we were primary school friends. And if you recall, I was seated in front of you, and you were always kicking the back of my seat, right? So that was how I recalled, hey, so you are the guy that I was the poor guy that was kicking the chair. The funny thing was that life has always a different way to take you around, right? So he was running this like a startup. He got investors funding. He was the leader of his company. And I think one thing I failed to spot was, there were a lot of things that's left unsaid. He said that he wanted to get more resources. He wanted to grow his company. And back then I knew some people. Fast forward about 2 to 3 weeks time, on a Wednesday evening, I walked out of another event, and I received a message. It was a Facebook group chat. And he said that Jay's funeral wake was at whatever the address in Singapore. And I just couldn't process, right? Because, I was still high from the event. And then I saw this message, and I didn't think much except to take a look at that address, put it into my Grab app, and then I went all the way to the place. It was the first time I saw my friend. He's 27 years old. He was an officer in the army. And I peered through, he was lying flat in the coffin. I think the most heart-wrenching moment was when I went over to his mom, and his mom had to hold my arm. And he said, no, Jay was such a good boy, but we don't know what happened. So what happened was that he actually jumped to his death. And later we learned was that he was just shouldering so many responsibilities. He didn't know how he could make back the multiples that his investors were sort of asking from him. He didn't know how to account to his employees. He didn't know how to relate to his co-founder. And I think that was one very, very sobering moment that made me realize that insofar that leadership is something that we covet sometimes, or sometimes leadership we think that is something that will challenge us, right? It's this gusto that some of us have talked about. But sometimes taking a step down is okay as well. Sometimes asking for help is so important. So I think every time when I recall about Jay's passing, it's a reminder for me that leadership is not just being able to be projecting in front, but willing to ask for help, to grow together. So that's my short instant. Yeah.
Yeah, Jasmine, on that note, I would like to ask you, what do you think about, what is your opinion about collectivism? So I think collectivism is, we should discuss about this before we go on that.
Okay. So I have my views about collectivism and individualism. I believe collectivism should be used as a point of when we agree as individuals on where we want to go, what our goals are, and we bring that individual aspirations and expectations to an alignment collectively, then collectivism should apply in terms of the pursuit of that agreement and alignment, right? So yeah, there are many times that we talk about how do we focus, right? So I think organizations in the pursuit of, or rather in the challenge of being able to manage so many people, come up with one mold and model and say, you comply, right? As opposed to saying, this is what we've all agreed upon as an organization. I think it was Isabella who said it earlier, to whether organizations are collectively involving you in the ultimate decision making. Are they bringing you along? I think that's key, right?
Yeah.
Because it should be a hierarchical decision making process. And then you just have to follow a cut, paste template, right? So that's my view in terms of collectivism. Collectivism for the ultimate goal that we've agreed upon. Seek the alignment, right? Strategic alignment. I think that's exactly what Isabella was talking about. On that note, I'm saying that's why, as youth, if I can very quickly say this, as youth, you must find your passion and you must hold yourself dear to that passion, whatever that passion is for you, and be authentic, right? Don't fear the authentic aspect of you. And if your organization or your uni or what does not allow you to bring that up, seek the help of others where you can find some alignment, or people who will listen to you, or maybe tell you how to present your ideas better. Find that. I think Benjamin has said that too, right? Find that alignment. Don't give up. Don't think that just because no one is listening to you that it's a bad idea. You can go and listen to Steve Jobs. He got kicked out of Apple. He came back, right? I mean, there are many great stories out there, but the journey is hard and it will be challenging. And you might think, and in this case, it's just what Benjamin shared with us very sadly, where someone just felt the weight was just so heavy that he just ended it, right? And that's very, very sad, exceptionally sad, right? And we don't need to go to that point. So that's what I would say in terms of collectivism, Priya, that focus on collectivism is on the ultimate goal, yes.
Yeah. Do you think, Benjamin Crock, that, you know, if that person would have been applied that collectivism and, you know, the Benjamin's friend, that, you know, he would have been actually in a much better position given this scenario? I know it is a very sad story and I don't want to monetize, but I want people, if you are in a crossway somewhere, must use the help and support and the people around you. Reach out to somebody whom you can believe, so there will be no such situation, and the people, you will be gone but other people will be there to feel like Benjamin. We can't say what he is feeling and the parents would have been feeling after he is gone, such an young age. Do you think it is important to, you know, bring that in your day-to-day routine?
Yes, for sure. I mean, I really cannot speak for that person, unfortunately, and I don't know at all what he might have gone through, what he did or not do, and so on. So I really cannot at all express myself on this. But more generally, I do really agree with what Benjamin and Jasmine just shared. I needed it a lot as well myself, and I still need it. And I think every leader or every person in a position of leadership at some point needs people, needs team, needs to share, needs to vent even at times. You know, it's important to, the teamwork can be about venting together and then putting it behind and going away. So definitely I think that that there is a mix. There is no good and bad between collectivism and individualism. I think it's both are. We have moments, right, where we have to get things done on ourselves, and moments where we need to be on a team. But definitely, both are always necessary at any point of time. They might be in sequence, one after the other, depending on the moment. But there is no role where you really don't need a team. I mean, when we think even about great sportsmen in tennis. For example, I'm saying this because I have those in mind, like be it Roger Federer for the past 15, 20 years, or be it Emma Raducanu, just recently the young, I was about to say English, but multinational, multi-background lady. Actually, they will be the first one to say that, hey, I'm just the face of it. I'm just the front of it. But the work is actually the one of a team. And without this team, there is no way that they would have been where they are today. No way. They might be good in tennis, you know, I'm not arguing about this, but it's not enough. What was good for them is that when they had moments when they were down, when they were injured maybe, and so on, they always had the collective around them to bring them back up, to suggest some ways to improve, to suggest some ways to do, and so on. And that's really where I believe you can really go very far and go on also for a very long time. That's really the power of the team.
Thank you. And I think we are running out of time. We have many questions to ask, and I have still, we can keep going on for another hours. And such a great panel here. I cannot say thank you enough. The wisdom you guys have shared and the experiences you have gained. I'm sure youth must have been picking something from this. So now I'm opening up the floor for the youth to ask their question, you know, what they think from today, what they want to learn, what they want to know, and how we can help them. So please initiate your question. If you have any further questions to ask to the panel, we are here to help and answer you. Okay, great question coming up. How to develop leadership skill among introvert students? So I would like to come to Benjamin Lowe for that.
Okay, I do not know why I'm being earmarked for this. Maybe I look like an introvert, but indeed I'm an introvert. I am a professional speaker. Professionally, I speak to typically hundreds and thousands of people. That's a very extroverted profession. But if you speak to my wife, I have moments where I really need to recharge, and I'm introvert as well, and I run a company of 5. I think to the point, to develop leadership skills among introverted students, one, come to terms that introversion is not a form of handicap. Introversion can really be an immensely helpful skill, because I think introverts actually perform better under pressure, because we are comfortable with silence, we are comfortable with observing, we're comfortable with not taking an immediate stance, and hence sometimes our ability to analyze and break down and deconstruct situations can work in our favor.
Yeah.
I think the second dimension in terms of developing leadership skills is instead of looking at introverted or extroversion, look at what's the necessary skills and inputs that you need to drive towards a certain context and scenario. So you can really harness the best from different people, more from that perspective, rather than say, hey, I'm going to get all the introverts in one house. And that's going to be really noisy, like what Jasmine said in her classroom, right? So it's never a case whereby intro versus extroversion. It's really the necessary skills, talents, and contributions to drive towards the goal. I think the last thing would be seek out good mentors as well. Whether you're introvert or extrovert, you're going to have blind spots. And for me, when I was very much early, whether in terms of entrepreneurship or my first career was in sales, I made sure to form a board of advisors. So I had advisors who coach me or mentor me or guide me in terms of sales, in terms of relationships, in terms of business, in terms of like, for example, certain industry specifics as well. And I think, you never want to be the smartest person in the room. So that being a better leader is really always constantly having a light that shine upon yourself to say what are your moments of brilliance, but also where are your spots of like a growth, where's your spots of like development as well. So those are my 3 quick tips. Yep.
Yeah, and I believe we, as you said, like, everybody is introvert and extrovert. It's no such definition. I believe it's a moment of the time. Of course, I agree with you. I have met so many greater artists. I was a stage performer. I have traveled all over India, and I was a classical dancer and met so many performers. They were so introvert. If you will ask them in a camera any question, they will not answer. They will smile and move on. But they were such a great performer when they are moving on that time, and they never shy away from their art and the performance. So it's so rightly said here. So my next question, I'm coming to the, do leader need to be someone that outshine in every aspect? Jasmine, what do you think about it?
I don't think a leader needs to outshine in every aspect. Right? So whether we're talking about whether we need a supremely charismatic leader, my answer is no. Right? I don't think so. Because people see through, right? They may not see it initially, but people see through authenticity. People see through actual good intentions and goodwill. And that's what I think is the value of the person that you bring to the table. And really, a leader at the end of the day is somebody who listens more than he speaks, who is interested in you. And people can sense that, right? Again, I say whether subconsciously or consciously, they can sense it. So they don't need to outshine, but I think they need to bring very strong values to the table. They're very principle-centered. and the focus is on you. That's what I think will make a leader shine. And those are the intrinsic and extrinsic qualities that we need to look for when you look at a mentor, or you look at a leader, or that you look at somebody that you want to follow and learn from. Be very selective. Look for the core values.
So my next question is very interesting, which is how leadership can increase my employability rate. I would come to you, Isabel. Would you mind taking it?
Sure, absolutely. That's a great question, and thank you for asking that. I would definitely say, I'm sorry, I'm looking at two different questions here. So the question is, how the leader can increase my employability rate? Okay, got it, perfect. Sarah, what I would suggest is do something that nobody is willing to do. From introvert perspective, they're phenomenal listeners. And I love that you guys said that. And then at some points where introverts and extroverts dependent of scenario situation. But now in order to be employable and shine and stand out by who you are, not just to stand out and do whatever it needs to be done, no matter the cost, like as Jasmine was mentioning, it's very important to go extra mile, to take a lead, take initiative and do it. And that will help you tremendously because it will show your level of maturity, your passion, your drive, your interest, and willingness to try something. Even if you fail, doesn't matter. But the willingness that you are putting yourself out there, that's going to help you tremendously. Because right now we need people that are willing to take initiative, take a risk, that are confident, that are not afraid to fail, and that are also capable and able at least to, ask and engage others in that process, so that you can get permission or at least, get support behind you.
My next question is does courage play a role in leadership? Benjamin Crock, I'm coming to you. Does courage play a role in leadership?
I would say yes, but I would still qualify this yes. I would say yes in terms of the fact that, again, even for the smallest things that I was talking about earlier, it takes courage to kind of do something that maybe someone has not done, or do something that you initially were not comfortable with, even though you knew you could do it, you were not comfortable to actually take the stance and go ahead and do it and so on. So I think it takes courage, again, with yourself to be able to take the leap and start engaging in some activities that would be requiring some leadership, requiring some initiative and so on. Again, my biggest point on that is that it doesn't have to be courage in terms of action movie courage, right? It doesn't have to be something crazy. Often we think courage, wow, courage is to talk to 10,000 people, build Apple, otherwise it's no courage. No, courage again is whatever you are not comfortable with to begin with. If you do it, that's courage. And then this courage becomes a skill that actually if in case you feel, you think you don't have enough actually courage, at least when it comes to leadership and so on, the smallest leaps like that demonstrates courage or that requires courage will build this courage skill, this courage muscle in you, so that you can progress doing it. So I would say yes, but not necessarily the big, bold courage, like you're brave or not brave. No, everyone has courage. Then it's just about nurturing this own skill and muscle, so that we go at our pace and where we want to go actually.
Yeah, I think, it is just a moment when you decide a little courage at that particular moment. Yes, I can do it. Let's take it, and that's the only that little moment of courage you need, and you will be, so in the same note, I would like to ask this question to Benjamin Low. How do we balance between leading and nurturing,
So I think the question and the premise of that is that leading and nurturing are at different dimensions, right? So I think leading and a good part of leadership is also nurturing. And how I see it is good leaders actually spend a lot of time on their people. I can't recall exactly which quote was on that in terms of the business. Like when a business takes care of its employees, the employees will then take care of its customers. So I think in the same fashion as well, I think modern day leadership sometimes celebrates a lot of heroic leadership. unnecessarily. It doesn't put you don't have to shine all the spotlight on one particular person. I think great leaders, in my opinion, are comfortable taking the heat off as well as the light off themselves and to shine light on other people. And I think that's where the nurturing component is. So like, for example, yesterday, Friday, I do have a remote staff in the Philippines, and I was asking her, is everything well and good? Because I'm based in Singapore, she's in the Philippines. I haven't met her physically at all, but she's been working with me, wonderful work for 3 months. And I say, hey, I noticed when we are doing Zoom calls, your kids will sometimes come by and they'll be on the iPad sort of consuming video. That causes our Zoom to be slightly laggy. And I say, hey, could I really help you to increase and enhance your well-being? Would it be okay if you tell me how much does it cost to increase and upgrade your Wi-Fi, as well as maybe get a decent chair, because I noticed she was sitting on a sort of wooden chair, right? And I think that's like, for me, my way to nurture and make a person feel better. And I think that's not to sort of overinflate what I do, but I feel, great leaders really sort of, be comfortable not looking at yourself. It's just really catching people in action, catching people doing right things. And even if you catch people doing the wrong things, try to suppose and ask yourself, why did that happen for that person, and give them the benefit of doubt. I mean, easier said than done, but the real crux of that is, how can we practice that as a way of leading ourselves, as a way of life, versus, always wanting to be at the front. So summary, leadership and nurturing never at loggerheads for me. It's in fact nurturing is a subset of leadership for me.
Right. And in that sense, like if we go to our next question, what are the common blind spot of extrovert leaders that you encounters? I'm in the extrovert myself, and I'm curious to find out. William NG is asking this question. Jasmine, you want to take that? So what are the common blind spot of extrovert leaders that you encounter?
I think an extrovert leader in my experience is sometimes because they bring quite a bit of energy to the front, right? They bring a lot of energy to the table, and people tend to be quite, it's contagious, right? So people tend to get quite caught up with that energy. And oftentimes people are afraid to tell them the truth when maybe the energy is not so rightly placed in the situation. So then there is that blind spot that does happen, that everything is actually going fine and everybody is aligned, when in fact it may not be the case, right? So sometimes it's a bit overpowering. So I think those are one of the blind spots, if you ask me. Priya, that's what I would have to say for that.
Interesting. So somebody is saying how to influence the people to follow you. Jasmine, you want to take that?
Yes. How do you influence people to follow you? Okay, personally, I don't think I've gone out to try to see how I should make people follow me. But I believe there are certain principles that I live by, and I hold out very dear. My father was my greatest love, right? Sadly, he's no longer with us. And he taught me at a very young age how to give feedback. I think Isabella pointed out to it earlier. Asking for feedback and giving to feedback, there's also an art. I was 8 years old, and my father said to me when I brought back my report card, it wasn't actually that bad. But he just looked at it and he shook his head and he looked at me and he said, why do you give so little when you're capable of so much more, right? And that was a huge paradigm shift for me as a child of 8, because he could have just said, why so bad? Why not better? He could have given me a telling off, but instead he made me feel guilty that I didn't do better, because he believed in me. And that shifts you, right? That really just shifts all your paradigm. And I think that's what's very important, if you ask me, in terms of how we position the information, how we speak to our people. And I think we need to be conscientious all the time that people are very vulnerable, especially if a leader is speaking to them, or if they put forward an idea, or they put forward a suggestion. They're waiting for approval. So be kind in terms of how we actually position that and bring them along with what we feel would actually help them grow and be more creative and be progressive, as opposed to being, in this part of the world, we call it the rotan, which is, to name and shame in that sense. So that's how you get people to actually follow you, because they feel that your principles align with theirs and they like what they see.
There is a very interesting question here, Isabel, for you. I would bring it to you. As a female, how do I effectively lead an all-male group? How do better communicate ideas, etc.?
That is a great question, actually, and I'm so glad you are asking that, because we're still living in very dominated male leadership top roles by their title, but not necessarily by the skill. So we have to separate those two things. So if you're in an environment where it's a lot top heavy with male leaders by title, but not necessarily by their skill, it's a huge opportunity for you to shine. Finding the mentor, finding one or two of those in those groups that are truly your supporters, your cheerleaders, and asking them for opportunities to do something so that where you can be shining and showing how capable you are. Either is to run the presentation or minutes or conversation, because a lot of times what we see still, unfortunately, women are being taken as a secretaries to take notes or to be just kind of supporters on the sidelines, and then given the opportunity or demanding or interjecting yourself with authority. I would really highly recommend not to be arrogant, but to bring that authority in there to say, I have additional information that might be valuable. Be still kind, polite, professional, but be determined. And sometimes you also have to interject to earn that one or two cheerleaders and mentors. And I would really highly encourage you to do that. And then when they see it and what you're capable of, they will come more and more behind you to push you forward. And then also I will highly recommend to sit down and have these conversations and say, I'm on trajectory. This is my goal. This is what I'm hoping in next 2-3 years. This is what I'm hoping before end of this year. Can you support me? Can you help me out? And how do you think I should do this? And when we also ask questions and allow those leaders to tell us what they see, our strength, our weakness, and our capability, all of this will then just naturally come together. But I would, again, always start with that first, asking questions, inserting yourself in tactful, meaningful way, and then from there, winning them over so that they are going to support you no matter what.
Yeah. And I believe every gender, every race, every human being should be respectful to each other, even to the plant and the animals and everybody. And we will live in a harmony. I wish we can see that world. That will be interesting to see. And my next question to Benjamin Kroc, I'm coming to you because, and I would like to wrap up after this. I would love to hear from all panels, what was your biggest challenge as leader and how did you handle? Benjamin Kroc, you want to take that question?
Sure. So the biggest challenges, so I think for me, the biggest challenges happen not only once, actually happen regularly. It's when you are seen as the de facto leader on a specific topic or activity, and you sometimes have no clue.
Yeah.
You might know longer term where you want to go, where you want to bring the group, and so on and so on. But again, sometimes you don't know what it takes exactly, tactically, in terms of making it happen, because it might be a very complex thing, it might be a very long-term thing, so a lot of steps and so on. So this challenge, this situation actually happens on a since forever, actually, since forever. From time to time, not always, of course. But I think what's important is a bit tying back to everything that was shared by the panels and by yourself, Priya, just before, is all about how do you analyze and understand that this is happening, that this is such a case where you yourself as the leader need guidance, basically. And when you identify that it's the case, the most important is to refer back to collectivism and identify people who basically can help you. And those people that can help you might be mentors, advisors, parents, but also the people you are leading. Like it's really not one way from the leader to the group and so on. It's also two ways. The leader benefits and learns as much from anyone in the group than the other way around. So I think that's always challenging when you're not sure exactly about what to do, what's the best course of action moving forward. But if you can recognize this and refer to the people who can chip in and contribute, that's how I usually manage to overcome.
And I always believe that hurdles will be always there. And if it is not there, life will be very, very boring. So no matter what you do in your life, the hurdles will be there. I always believe that, it's everything is just a hurdle. and these are challenges we have to face, we have to take, and we have to move on. And as we mentioned a couple of times, C. Maxwell, he said that a good leader is a person who takes a little more than his share of the blame and a little less than the share of the credit, right? And that's where your influential aspects comes out of the leadership. You have to just live that moment, show the path, live the vision, and believe in someone else's vision. That's where you can actually support, true support, just like your parents, just like your grandparents, that's just like your first teachers, just like your first manager who actually gave you the chance to say something. That's where this little movement actually let you shine. And that these are the flashes, but along that, whatever hurdles and moments you are living in, these are the challenges you face in, these are just a journey. But then you'll get one flash, then another journey, and then another flash you'll get. And these kind of an event, everybody joins, they come up with this whole beautiful mindset. They go with out with a great mindset, and then this should not be a bubble effect. This journey should continue. So today I'm urging all the participants today, don't leave it here. Reach out to the great people, good people in your life, whom you can believe, whom you can idolize, and just follow this path. Don't end here. And the people whom I cannot actually cater the question here, I'm sure I will actually somehow reach you out and answer your questions. We will be bringing you answer very soon through these panel leaders or somewhere, but you will get your answer. That's our promise. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, panel, for joining it. Appreciate your insight and 2 cents. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Priya.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Priya.
Priya, for great experience. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, speakers. That was an amazing and fruitful session. It was very interesting listening to our speakers explaining about what they have in mind and what they have experienced with leadership, because after all, indeed, experience is the best teacher. Every time our speakers say youth are the future, I get goosebumps realizing it is true. You all are the future. I am the future. We all are the future. So I hope you all paid attention and managed to gain knowledge. Before we move on to the next agenda, speakers, maybe we can have a little photo session?
Yes.
All right. So my team will have to take picture. Okay. So are you guys ready with the camera and all? Okay. So team, maybe and count on 3, 3, 2. Okay. And one more picture, yeah, with the speakers. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, speakers, for spending your Saturday morning with us. It was very insightful. Hope to see you guys again. And participants, don't sign off just yet. We have more coming up for you guys. Only our speakers need to log off. Thank you so much, speakers.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Priya. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Of
I'll
course,
leave now.
thank you so much. Stay safe, speakers. Thank you. Moving on, I would like to invite Ms. Andrea from Global Empowerment Summit as ILP main collaborator to share about her summit. Ms. Andrea, over to you.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm really seeing you blossoming here. I was following you from the beginning when you started this conference, and when you started to put it together. You do an amazing job, and I know that the speakers will agree. A beautiful organizing, a beautiful, very detailed thing that you did until we are here today together. So I would love to share love to everyone who was joining in today, all the 180 participants, because I know it's Saturday, so everyone would like to go around and do their things, but you are here and you are there for yourself and others, and you are learning all the way. and this is the place to be. Just a few things to say that I'm collaborating with I-WELD because they chose me as their I-WELD leadership icon for this year and next year's, and I'm really, really happy about it. I would love to support all these talented young girls and boys. And I am organizing the Global Empowerment Summit, which is kind of like a personal out of comfort zone challenge. I'm doing it alone to empower people so that you see that you can organize an event with more than 200 speakers, 300 live sessions just from your living room with one microphone, one laptop, and with the help of the speakers and the volunteering people who are coming, and they are on the aid of the people who need uplifting. And that's why we met with I-WELD also, and we are collaborating, and I'm also displaying this conference on the platform for all the participants there. So a little bit more about why I'm doing it. I felt that people need a little bit of uplifting, just like you guys. And this year's topic is the young and the wise. Let's be bold together. So I'm really, really happy that we can hear your perspectives and you are listening to other generations' perspective. And that's the start of something beautiful that this generation, right? The generation before you can understand you better, and you also can understand where we are coming from, what's our perspective, and so that we can also support you in the future better. And maybe you understand why are we as we are sometimes, because we are coming from another age, and we have been in the era when there was no cell phone, no LinkedIn, no iPhone, no gadgets, and no anything what you have today. And yeah, so basically that's where we are coming from, and we can show you some other things that you maybe never knew, like how I was just asking my father all the time whenever we were traveling somewhere in the car about everything, like questions, and I didn't turn to Google. I turned to my father and I was asking for his opinion, which was making us feel better and more connected. So I'm wishing you guys, for all the youth here, to join into the Global Empowerment Hub too. We will have more than 50 plus workshops in the upcoming 5 weeks. We have 300 live sessions, right? And I am there all the time. So if you need help, just look out for www.globalempowermenthub.com and you will find us. And guys, as a message to the young people out there, don't dare to be yourself. Don't be afraid to show who you are, and be a little bit curious about the others around you. Be more curious about how it was in the old times. And I promise you, we will be also more curious about how you feel today so that we can support you better. So thank you very much. I don't really want to take the time because I-WELD has such a beautiful program here. Enjoy, and please be there for yourself by engaging. They prepared a beautiful, beautiful live stream and a beautiful program. So make sure you're participating, engaging, answering, playing, and dancing in the background all day long, and also tomorrow. Thank you, Diana. Back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Andrea, for your sharing as well as your message to bold individuals out there. Do follow Global Empowerment Hub on IG to know more about the free summits. Now, aren't you guys excited for the next module? Because the next module is going to be very interesting. We will all join Mr. Patrick as well as other speakers, Ms. Fedora, Ms. Wendy, and Ms. Andrea, discussing about diversity and inclusion. So without further ado, Mr. Patrick, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Diana. I'm very honored to be here today with this great panel. All ladies on my panel today. It's going to be exciting, and we're talking about the diversity and inclusiveness or inclusion. And I think we should kick this off by really digging into the definition of these terms. So let me open the round by this question first. What is your personal definition of diversity and inclusion? Who wants to go first today?
If no one goes, then I can go.
Andrea. Yeah, Andrea. Yeah, you warmed up already, so please.
Yes, I warmed up. I was talking. So I would explain for the youth out there what diversity is with my hat. Because I'm wearing this hat just because I love diversity and colorful connections, and this is what it is. So if you are from Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur is the diversity of diversity. It's a melting pot of many, many nations. So you already have the definition straight right there. You have the different food, you have the different culture, you have the different languages, you have all this beautiful, beautiful country and all these beautiful people inside. So that's diversity, and how we see the world it's different from every angles. That's all, Patrick. I'm giving the word to someone else.
Yeah, I saw Wendy unmuted already, so you want to take it from here.
All right. Hi, good morning, everyone. From my perspective, I think diversity in a workplace means that workforce is made up of employees with different backgrounds. So it can be race, such as race, gender, career backgrounds, skills, education, age, religion, culture. There's just so many diversity in terms of that in a workplace. You can even go, in terms of nationality, working style, and different generations as well. Because we are all different and our differences can generate various points of views, it contributes to creativity and innovation, right? So hence diversity is proven to make communities and workplace more productive in the long haul. Whereas inclusion, for me, it means that everyone in the diverse mix feels involved, valued, respected, in the culture, in the workplace, right? So empowering all employees and recognizing their special talents is part of creating an inclusive organization. So in that inclusion in the workplace, it's also about understanding and respecting each other. So making sure everyone's voices and opinions are heard, it's very important. Carefully being considered, because this kind of work environment where everyone feels accepted, and where everyone is part of the decision-making process. And so personally, diversity doesn't work without inclusion. It goes hand in hand, right? And inclusion is about learning things we didn't know, right? So which it makes it actually not easy, as it involves disagreement, and criticism along the way. So yeah, generally that's my take.
Good. Thank you very much, Wendy. And Fedora, you have anything more to add?
Yes, I think firstly, thank you to the organizer I-WELD for having me and the team here, the panelists here today. And so welcome to everybody. So yeah, I think this is an interesting topic, diversity and inclusion, right? So for me personally, I especially resonate with the analogy of diversity and inclusion, where diversity is where you are invited to the party, right? And inclusion is where you are being asked to dance, right? So you're not being judged for who you are, where you are. You have a seat, as they call it, you have a seat at the table and your voices are being heard, just like what Wendy mentioned, just what Andrea just said. And yes, Malaysia is the melting pot. I was about to say that similar. It is a melting pot of diversity, but it's not enough, just like Wendy says. It's not just about being diverse, being different, but it's about that inclusivity, being heard at the end of the day. So yeah, I as far as weather is great. What does it take, right, to be diversity, to have this diversity and inclusion in an organization? I think it's great now that it's a business imperative. So everyone is mindful and more conscious. So I especially love this quote of by Mother Teresa, because I see D&I, diversity and inclusion, is basically leveraging on each other's strengths, where this quote of, I can do things you cannot. You can do things I cannot. Together we can do great things. So that's to me, what diversity, it sums up diversity and inclusion. And going back to where we are, since I believe we are talking, there are also global participants here, but it's so, now it's a buzzword, it becomes a business imperative. So it's great that it's timely that it's now we're talking about it. So that would be how I would say, what diversity and inclusion mean to me. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you very much, Fedora. I think that was already a quite awesome opening round here with really a diverse diversity, I would say. Even Andrea mentioned it just before, also in her short promo for her empowerment summit, the age, right, and the different generations that we have, especially in the digital age. Maybe we'll have a time to talk about this a little bit later. But let me move on to the next question, which is, well, we have now talked about all these diverse environments, or what we understand by diversity. But what is, in your opinion, the most challenging aspects of working in a diverse environment? Maybe we start with Wendy this time first.
Yeah. Okay, so I think the most challenging aspect of working in a diverse environment could be the resistance to change, because many organizations, especially times like this, are going through transformation. And during a transformation process, there will usually be some restructuring and new hiring involved, right? So the conflict might arise when existing staff members who are already in the team, existing team, will feel threatened, right, with new people, new blood coming in. So the new employees will also feel a little bit outcast and don't know how they are supposed to fit in, right? And this may be particularly difficult in companies which has long-serving workforce, right? Because when we talk about transformation, a lot of times, a lot of the employees have been around for 10, 15 years easily. And to look at restructuring the whole team, you need to reassess everybody's job scope and whatnot. So when we bring in new blood, the younger generation, right, into the workplace, and this team or younger generation will come into, look into implementing process improvements, automation, or even system implementation for work efficiencies, right? And you have this long-serving workforce that have been around, who have been doing things the same for the past decade. And so for them to accept changes in that sense, they might not be as cooperative. There will be reluctance to learn, and hence, there will be that resistance in that sense. But how do we then overcome this issue? I think there's definitely still ways to overcome it. The leaders' involvement is very important in any diversity and inclusion initiatives. So if the transformation was part of the organizational goal, I would say the leaders of the organization would need to be transparent, right, about the plan and objectives of it, so that it gets the team, whether it was the long-serving workforce or the new joiners, to understand what they're trying to achieve as a company, as an organization, and what they need to do to achieve it together, right? So whether if you are a long-serving workforce within that transformation program, you will still feel inclusion and the sense of belonging as part of the plan, or even implementing things like employee recognition program, where they break down to different groups and help the teams to aim for recognition award for being part of the change or transformation. So this again can help the long-serving workforce and the new joiners to work together and be part of this transformation. So I think generally I would say that could be one of the biggest challenge aspect.
Okay, thank you very much, Wendy. And I know, Fedora, you are an expert in change management also. You have led in very big corporates and taking care of change management. What would you, generally agree to that is the biggest challenge, or what other challenges did you see in diverse working environments?
Yeah, just to add on, I agree with Wendy, because a lot while we are talking to the youth or the future leaders of the world, for example, today, but the challenge typically is very much to do with the middle management and above, right? Because just like Wendy mentioned, they've been around, they've been in the system for so long, and they know what they know. And I mean, it's not of any fault, right? They don't know what they don't know, for example. So, and yes, COVID has just presented to us the need for change, and it's accelerating change from a digital standpoint and a lot more other areas. So it does take a different mindset, a different perspectives, being able to see things differently. So and it's only fair that for if you have done certain things certain way for so long, you would know what you know, as I mentioned earlier. So I guess the challenge that is a common challenge that is being presented. But however, in saying that, that's where the likes of processes, change management that needs to come in place, because there are methodologies, there are ways to manage change for it. But it needs to take that conscious decision. It does take that. It needs to be managed. With a proper method structure. It is a conscious decision that you have to make. And I think I was hearing from the earlier panelists. I mean, when you're leading an organization, being a leader, whatever level you are at, it's all about having that courage. Because courage to make changes, to drive change, to be able to guide, where is it going, for example. So just to go back, I guess, from the perspectives of diverse environment, I personally, as far as my experience, have been very positive having diverse environment. But what is challenging from this aspect is more about the unconscious bias that we have. Yeah, we have to admit that through experiences, we have a certain set of beliefs based on our experiences. We have this unconscious bias within us, right? So we, again, going back to now that it's become D&I becomes a business imperative. We can't really already say we don't know, right? We're not aware. We're not doing things in line with diversity and inclusion. So that's where business strategies, imperatives, processes need to be in place. Now that it becomes D&I, diversity and inclusion becomes a business imperative, what is that strategy that you have put in place? For example, from the get-go of recruitment process, if you talk about an organization, you're talking about businesses along your value chain. So it now becomes a process that you can take steps forward. But however, what I want to allude more towards is, are we doing enough? It's not about what's the challenge of working in a diverse environment, but are we doing enough to bring in diverse and inclusive workforce within organizations? And so it's and the other thing is, now that it becomes a business imperative, I think one thing we need to be mindful is that it should not just for the sake of ticking a box. That, yes, I've done, there's diversity and inclusion. Yes, as a business, I tick that box of diversity and inclusion, right? So I think in terms of recognizing where we are, for example, talking from a Malaysia context, in terms of maturity, so it's great. This is a great step forward. It's timely that we are talking about it. We are openly discussing about it. And it has become business imperatives in a lot of organizations. It's now about taking that action forward. It's all about taking, so yeah, I think that's how I would say, talking about challenges from the perspective earlier, we talked about managing change, yes, there are resistance to change. That's very typical, when you're pretty set in your ways, for example, but there are ways to manage. And then the challenge of D&I is that unconscious bias. And we have to admit we have it. And how do we move forward together in this, right? Putting in place the right strategy, processes. So that's how my view on this particular question.
Yeah. Very, very nice. Thank you very much, Fedora, for sharing this. Andrea, I think we all know you work with an extremely diverse group right now. I think 200 speakers all over the world, all ages, all races, all genders, all cultures. What is the most challenging aspects you see in working with such a diverse group?
I will come first from the angle that I love Hilda's definition: diverse culture, skills, personality, minds, perspective, working towards a common goal. So exactly that's what I'm dealing with now for 5-6 weeks in the upcoming Global Empowerment Hub and the summit. So, but let's make it super easy for the people to understand. I'm a dancing economist, as you know, which means I'm dancing since I was 6, but I'm also an economist on bank management and stock exchange on my according to my diploma, and I was working as a lean subject matter expert, team leader in multinational environment. So I'm kind of like very close to Fedora, change management, project management. It's all here, and that's what is helping me to make this summit happen, right? But for the youth out there, I would like to say that let's just take another perspective. I tell you that leading an organization with diversity and with a diverse culture, and to build up a diverse culture, it's like dance. So let's explain what does it mean. So imagine a dance couple, right? They are starting their dance journey. They are just beginners. They don't know each other. They just start to get to know each other. They are different people and they get together on the dance floor, right? Well, it will be a little bit like there and back, and it will be not really smooth. But when you see a dance couple just like sliding around the dance floor very smoothly, well, that's when diversity is really working and it's perfectly smoothened out. And what are the challenges and how do you get there? So the first thing is the couple has to align, right? So it's the same like in a company culture. Everyone in the company has to align. Values, belief system, vision, everything around, you have to set it straight. And from day one, everyone has to align to these goals. And then it can, of course, evolve according to whatever people say, if it's an open culture, but it stays on the same path, right? So the dancers are already aligned, they are strong alone and they are strong together. So it's a beautiful thing to watch them, right? What comes next is the personal intention. And that's also something which is coming in the culture of a diverse company. Everyone has intentions. We want to make changes. We want to lead. We want to follow. We want to do this. We want to do that. So everyone has to set these intentions straight, and we have to listen to each other's intentions. So if someone wants to develop something, improve something, innovate something, the leader has to listen to the follower. When the follower wants to do something different, the leader has to listen. And it's the same in the dance floor, right? When I want to change and do a little bit faster steps, I do that. So the leader will allow me, give me the space, respecting my intentions, so that we are already dancing with intentions, respecting each other's intentions and understanding each other's perspective. And also we are aligned because we want to, for example, win a competition, right? So let's say we go further. What's next? We had the alignment issue. We had the intention issue. So the next step is the respect of the improvisation and the creativity, right? Because life is always changing, just like Fedora said. We are going and everything is changing around, or even our personality is changing as we evolve, and even the culture is changing, plus the economy is changing, plus everything around the world, the environment is changing, plus we are more connected globally. So everything is getting bigger and bigger and more complex. So that's when you see the dancer, and they are not in a small room practicing alone, but they are in front of the audience in a big stage, and they have to also perform there and do everything the same way like they did before, on the same level of quality, right? So that's where it comes. We already aligned, we respect each other's intentions, and we are able to do it in a different environment together with all the creativity, and we react for different things. Like, I don't know, some of the people wants to go and leave the company, right? Or the audience not liking what we do as a dancer, right? So we have to improvise and make them cheer us and make them a little bit more involved, all right? And then what comes after this is transparency. Transparency, honesty, just like Wendy and Fedora was mentioning before. That's very, very important today. You don't get anywhere if you're not yourself. If the dancers doesn't have this spice, they don't give their heart and don't show it to the audience. It's the same in a culture. if you don't show who you are, what you want to do, what position you want to take, which department you want to work, no one will know. You have to say it. You have to be open. Plus, the leaders have to accept this, and they have to be responsible for that they allow the people to speak up. And then the last one, really last one is discipline and commitment from everywhere, all over the whole organization. Because if the dancers are not practicing, one of them is weaker than the other, well, check that show, you will see who is taking the show over, right? So that's my analogy as a dancing economist. Hope it helps to understand more. And I will give back the word to Patrick now.
Thank you, Andrea. I like that. It's really a good analogy to dancing. Thanks so much for sharing that. And my next question is about sharing more, maybe a more difficult question also to answer, because sharing about a personal experience. So was there anything in your life, especially in your work life, did you experience any form of like these kind of issues yourself, like diversity or inclusiveness, anything about your work life? And of course, also I'm interested to know, how did you deal with it in the end? Maybe we start with Fedora this time.
Yes, thank you. Actually, I'm the more I hear, the more I read. Yeah, so I must say I've been very lucky. Yeah, because my foundational career started with Motorola as a software engineer. It's a global software center. Yeah, where I was exposed to diversity, inclusion from the get-go. That was my first job, right? After I graduated, so I became a software engineer, and it was a highly diverse and inclusive organization. You know, before even D&I became a business imperative like now. So we were made up of very balanced background of ethnicity, gender, so various from all this makeup. And a simple example for me, in my experience back then, was my daily lunch buddies. I would love to mention them, to honor them, to be honest. It's basically just me, Sridhar, S.H. Lee, and myself. There are four of us. So as you can see from the names, we all came from different ethnicity. There's one thorn in the amongst the roses, and different backgrounds. So it was a natural way of working, a natural way of engagement, natural way of socializing. So, and that is how it all started. So I must say I've been very, very, very lucky to have that foundation from the get-go. And just talking from my previous experience, as I'm in my recent role, right? The previous role was leading an experience center. Because drawing from this experience that I had with Motorola, I really appreciate what diversity and inclusion mean and in a work environment. And I basically, I do repeat this quite a bit, where I experience what good looks like. So with that, right, so I was very mindful on the importance of having a diverse, as a start, diverse teams within an organization. And that's where, just to answer a little bit more, just to expand a little bit more from the experience of managing change, there was a transformation office that was set up, and it consisted, of course, it was foundationally is merit-based. It's all merit-based. But because of the strategy forward at the very beginning, that being mindful of that, the needs for diversity and inclusion, and the team made up of various backgrounds, various ages. So diversity and inclusion, a lot of people tend to focus a lot more on gender, maybe ethnicity, but we talk about age now. I mean, we need to talk about age too, right? So that was what my experience have been. And I must say I've been very, very fortunate to have such a positive experience in this diversity and inclusion. But again, in saying so, I guess it's easier for me to say when I'm in that position. But if I were to to go back, it's basically, I must say there was not enough being done. And there was not enough being done. So I do have experiences where I've been, being advised. I think we shouldn't be opening up to a certain, group of people. For example, I must say I did experience that. So, but again, it does take a leader, or, the ones that are in that position of, making decisions, to be now very mindful of be conscious about every step of the way, putting this D&I into their processes. And because to be fair, unconscious bias is not again going back to it's not a fault of any person. I think we need to also recognize that, right? But again, by having this as businesses, in fact, I can't emphasize it enough. Put in place into your processes. Have it, if for now as a start, put it in the checklist, for example. But eventually, as we mature, it becomes a habit, it becomes a way of life. So, just to based on my experience, yes, Alhamdulillah, I've been blessed to have a very positive experiences thus far. But recognizing, there's still, more needs to be done. Yeah. Thank you, Patrick.
Well, yeah, I'm happy to hear that. I will give the word to Andrea. Andrea, do you remember any situation where you really felt bad because you were not included?
Yes, I will tell my story just before I do it. Let's see whether the audience is still listening, because I love to check in on them. So please put something like, yes, I'm here, into the chat right now, guys, so that I see that all the 178 of you is listening and grasping what we are talking about. Yes, they are here. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Aliyah. Hi, Nuri. Hi, Muhammad. Blah, 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 blah. All the names. All right, guys, thank you. Just catching with you. So before I start, you have to understand where I'm coming from. I'm coming from Hungary, and I'm coming from Europe. So that's my cultural background. And in Europe, the situation with women, the situation of the society general, it's already very well balanced. Let's say just that. And we have similar rights. We don't have problems with women's rights. We are not pushed behind. We are very well treated and catered in Europe, I believe, I must say. So I'm coming from a very, very positive environment from this perspective of diversity and inclusion and everything. It's well protected. But I moved to Malaysia 5 years ago. So what happened to me, I got into the contrary situation. I will be honest with you, because we are leaders, we have to be transparent, right, Wendy? So I came to Malaysia and I became the wife of my husband, someone who is not independent, someone who is not really treated the same way, someone who is a little bit more in the background than before, right? And this feeling was for me something different, and I had to handle it from the beginning, ever since I arrived here. And also my status, it's something that people don't understand. We are not all wealthy people coming here and, doing things. We are normal people trying to live just like you do when you go abroad to learn in another school, and we have to set up our new life wherever we go the same way. And I had some difficulties to find jobs. I had some difficulties to, even though my background, my diploma is I'm a high level, I'm really highly educated, but I couldn't get, for various reasons, my salary had to be higher, my position had to be different. I have the problem with the visa. So the employers wasn't really taking me on because of this reason. So that was my thing that I met here just by moving away, right? It's not because of the country. It's just the fact that I moved away from my home, from Europe, to another culture, to a diverse culture. And I had to adapt to a totally new situation. And I had to find out a way how I can thrive here. So what you can do in this case is just to give you also some light at the end of the tunnel. There is something like that. So you have to build a community. I started with dancing because that's my passion and people love it. So I started free dancing sessions every Friday with the help of one of the friends in One Montiera, if you know the place upstairs in the Villieu Cafe. And then after that, I started to build a community. And at the end, every Christmas, we had like more than 100 people dancing in a mall on the top of the floor. And it was really nice, and got friends and I got support. And that's when I started to understand the culture. I had to change my perspective. I was understanding everyone around me, and they started to support me. That's when the women empowerment came in the picture. And that's when I started the Empowerment Hub and all what you see today. That's how I got here, from being in my room alone, crying for 1 week because I don't have anyone around and my hubby is going all around Southeast Asia and I don't know what to do with myself. Until I'm like this, pumping and jumping everywhere, all around, wherever you can see me. So that's the story. And I believe everyone can do it. but it takes a lot of self-exploration, guys. So you have to really think about what you like to do. You have to see the other country's perspective, why they do what they do, because I had to adjust myself to the culture I'm arriving at. You cannot rule the culture. For example, if you move to Canada to a school, you cannot be the same. You have to look around, how are the people, and you have to adapt to that situation, not losing yourself, but adapt to the culture. So these are my few points. Patrick, back to you.
Thank you, Andrea, for sharing that story, which I can really understand. Maybe Wendy, you have a third different story here about something that happened to you, or something that really made change your mind, or like open your eyes in terms of like where you felt like diversity and inclusiveness were an issue for you, or you were like really suffering from it. You're still muted.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Yes, I do have a story that I can share, which happened long time ago, when I think in my early days of my career. So I think in terms of differences in professional working ethic is one area as well, where some cultures, it is important to work long hours, and in others, productivity is what counts, right? So I used to have bosses who like to be in the office for at least 12 hours a day, right? Like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And they used to like to pass me some work or tasks before they end their day. So probably around 6, they will come in and say, okay, can you get this done? And I need it by morning, right? So hence, I have no choice but to cancel my dinner appointments, my movie plans, and whatever not, to stay back in the office to complete whatever work that was given to me. And I literally stayed till 10, 11, 12, you know. So that was my learning curve back then. And after a couple of years of that kind of working culture, right? So I decided to speak up and let my boss know that, you know, I would like to be able to have some family time, you know, have dinner with my family more often, right? I thought it was not too much to ask, right? So solution given from my boss was to bring my laptop home, have my dinner, spend a little time with my family, and then continue to work, right? So that obviously shows no inclusiveness, as it was like a one-way me telling my problem, and it was just a solution that was still nothing, you know, that solved my problem, right? So I didn't achieve my goal of having work-life balance or increase my productivity. You know, it's just long working hours constantly. So if you ask me, yes, in the end, I did leave the organization. I think diversity was there in that organization, but inclusion was not happening, right? So I think inclusion is still a work in progress in a lot of organizations till today. But what I did get out of that situation is it makes me a better leader, because I do not believe in that culture, right? And I don't want people to just work for the sake of being present in the office, being there for that number of hours, right? Or giving people tasks that it's really unnecessary, you know, and it's no value add to the business or to the person itself or to me, right? In the end of the day. So I think that makes me to a leader that leads with compassion in that sense. And coming back to what Benjamin Lowe mentioned earlier in the earlier session, you know, you need to take care of your employees, so they will take care of your clients and your business eventually, right? So I think as much as this kind of situation, I think it still happens out there, unfortunately. But I think that's why inclusion is something that is a work in progress. You know, we still need to be putting a lot more effort in doing this as a whole organization. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Wendy. And I think a key takeaway here is an important one to really address the problem, right? Do not just accept and work with it, but address it early, address it appropriately, and basically try to find a solution with the group, or in your case with the boss also, which maybe leads me to a follow-up question that I would like to ask, because you're all leaders, and okay, you had the experience like something happened to you, Fedara. Luckily you did not, but I'm sure you had like situations where you have these challenges within a team, right? Like you mentioned before, like this unconscious bias versus even the conscious bias. I'm sure you had situations in teams where you had the bias, where you had these challenges, maybe gender, ethnicity, as you said, maybe even age or the culture. How did you solve that, or what is your way to address and solve these kind of issues within the team that you are leading?
Yeah, I guess that's definitely, as mentioned earlier, there wasn't enough done, right? I mean, there could more could be done, whereby talking about diversity first and foremost. One thing for sure, it's about being clear, right? Or what's that goal? What's the end in mind, right? What at the end of the day, where are you driving the organization towards? Why is it important? I think the engagement and communication first and foremost needs to be there. So to be a progressive, to build a progressive or high performing culture, you need that diverse opinions and be able to have that discourse. So first and foremost, based on my experience, I mean, you need to open up. You need to open up to allow, right, to allow conversations. To allow, to have that open door to bring in people to be able to speak, right? To be able to speak their mind and have platforms, for example, create platforms, have young leaders, for example, if you talk about age, bring out for example, if we talk about levels of managers, senior managers, or executives, if that's the nomenclature, right? So allow these executives to be in that leading position, and by having them to be in leading a project, for example, indirectly they are given that mandate, they are given that autonomy. So give them, for example, get them to lead projects. So first and foremost, that builds their confidence, and within guide them with what does it take to lead a project. By leading that project, make sure you be mindful of the makeup of your team members, because having that project management skills, right, is nothing like it. As a project manager, you will be dealing with all kinds of diverse makeup of people. And as a project manager, you will need to be listening to all your team members. So going back to, that's one quick example that how it's being managed. Setting up projects, setting up working groups, for example, so that it allows diverse background. And to break, I did say this, we need to break silo. So siloness is pretty rampant in a lot of organizations. So we talk about united in purpose. So what is that purpose? That's why I started with be clear of that purpose, be clear of that end goal, the end in mind. So by being clear to the end in mind, having these values of being united in purpose, I think hopefully the organization, the people will resonate and go along with it. But in terms of mechanics of it, that's where you could set up groups to bring in the people who are not being heard, right? Who typically are influencers within an organization, but however, just because the personalities are such an introvert, they're not out there. So it's onus on you to make sure that let's bring them on board. So give opportunities. So that's where, I mean, there were a lot of work being done to open up by giving opportunities, setting up projects, giving giving them an equivalent like a leadership position in a project, leading a project. So that's how some of the examples that was done. But it is challenging. It is challenging, just like when you mentioned about managing change transformation, because it's about new way of working, introducing new way of working. So of course there were resistance about it, but it's a matter of staying the course. How do you stay the course? Having the right support with you to get you through. So that's how, I would say how to lead, to lead a transformation or change forward.
Okay, thank you very much, Fedora. Let me rephrase for the next question a little bit, but which goes into the same direction. If we go for a specific example, that question came up. How do you? And I saw, by the way, the question also in the last panel discussion. The question like, how do you lead a completely different gender team? That means like okay, for you as a female, right? It happened to you probably that you had to had is maybe the wrong word. Maybe you had well you had, like, because of the contract obligation, you had to lead a completely male team, right? How was that for you, and how did you manage that? Was it even different? Was there a different approach for you to lead a male team, because male are more or different, have a different understanding in some things sometimes? How did that work out for you? Who wants to start? Let me see. Andrea, you want to start with that one?
Yes, I think this is very, very interesting question. And it takes me back to the time when I was working for the multinational company. I was leading a team of 7 of the customer management center of the German-speaking countries. And it was really, really interesting from the perspective that first we were managing Germany, so it's totally a different culture. It's in Europe, but still it's a different country, and you have different ways of managing it. Maybe Patrick knows about it because he's very close to he's from Switzerland, so they are
well, it's still different, right? Yeah, even
it's
as a
totally
Swiss,
different.
I would say it's different, right? Yeah, definitely.
So that's something that is totally different to manage. You have to be really strict with your deadlines and on time, and everything has to be perfect. So that's something to think on the first place. Who are you serving in your company? Who are your target audience, and who is your customer, right? And then the second thing is you have to check the team. I had a team of 7, which was 2 girls, 2 ladies, and 5 men, and all of them totally different personalities. So it's super important after you check the location and the country and the culture that you're working with, you have to check the people in your team. And what helped me a lot is, of course, again, my dancing perspective, because I was relating to each and every one of them on a personal level. So if there was someone who was like kind of like a soul man, being in a corner, very, very silent type. There was someone who was like, I know it, I do it right. There was someone who was very eager to do the things, someone who needed encouragement, and men and women, all different characters. And when you have a team like this, you really need to take out the diverse head, right? And then you have to talk to everyone in a different language. So whenever you are dealing with people who are a bit more introvert, you need to bring them out a little bit. You need to encourage them to show their truth and to make them convenient in that place. When it's about an extrovert, then you have to tune them down, because maybe they're destroying others in the team by being too active and being too in the forefront and pushing everyone in the backstage, right? When it's about more ambivalent people who can change, you have to really follow the change and the mood swings, because time to time they are up and down, and then you have to change from day 1 to day 2. So that's the second point. So after you checked the environment, you check the people. And then the third thing, which is very, very important here, is you are like not like a clown, but you are the enthusiast. You are the leader. So you need to make this team to work together and to have the enthusiasm to work on the things with the same enthusiasm and the same swing, right? So you really have to make them feel that this is their cause. This is their purpose. We are working on it together, just like the others said before me. We are in this together. The team is working towards a common goal. And then the last point is when they offered me a management position, right? They wanted me to become the manager of the customer management center, and they offered me this because I was good with the people, and so and so. And here comes something very important, a message for the youth, right? You don't have to say yes all the time. First, you have to think whether it's fitting your path, your personality, what you want in the future. And let me explain it further. I'm someone who is very kind-hearted, right? And I'm very all for freedom and all for commitment and all for creativity. And the environment with the management position and what it was coming with it wouldn't have allowed me to be as free as I want to be, because I should have obeyed all the rules that I have to rule in a very fixed environment, in a fixed mindset, in a fixed culture. And I said no, because I was enjoying the team, being in a team and having my freedom, and that level made me happy. And then I changed towards lean management and training people, because I felt going up on the ladder is not for me. I want to be someone who is training the people, who is creating this culture. So make sure that you check on the environment, check who is your audience, your customers when you are starting to work. Then check on your team and be personal with each and every one of them and enthusiastic. Then go for the alignment and go for the same goal, right? And then when you come to a decision point, whether you want to go up, always think about what's your future plan. What do you want to do? Do you align with this? Are your values the same? Can you really align with the values of the company in 2 years, in 3 years? And you can be really the one who is like passionate to be working in that management seat. So yeah, these were my points. Hope it helps a little bit.
Thank you, Andrea. I see you found a smooth way to go away from the gender discussion, but I will address it then to Fedora very directly or more provocative. Tell us why a female leader can with no problem lead a male team.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting topic. First and foremost, I just want to, regardless of gender, right? Regardless for now, as a start, right? As a opening, right? First, to be able to lead, right? Regardless of what I hold on to the perspective of leadership at all levels. Right? Doesn't mean that you're the CEO, you're the leader, but everyone is a leader, right? So to sum up, it does take a lot of courage. If you ask my definition, Fedora, the dictionary of leadership is courage. So if you are being called to the table, be confident, right? So regardless, okay, if you're a female leading have a project manager leading a project, take the bull by the horn, right? So it does take courage, okay? Because why? You are dealing with, now we're talking about perhaps if you're a female, a male colleagues. Definitely, we are different beings, different makeups, the way we think, the way we work. That's already well established. So what I can say, based on my experience, I don't mean to generalize. Women tend to be more detail oriented, right? And women tend to be more emotional beings, right? And male, I'm just drawing example with he's not here, my husband, for example. If I look at how he handles things, he will just look into the for example, there's an issue or a particular something to resolve. They talk about at that moment in time. So we typically, perhaps I'm going to defend the female here, right? So being a mother, for example, being a wife, you pretty much always think about, okay, what's next? Where do we go, right? We are very detail oriented. Do you agree? I hope Wendy and Andrea agree with me here. So yes, knowing that there's already a different in terms of way of working, personalities. So how do you handle this situation? Of course, honestly, it's not easy, right? It's not easy to be a leader. Because yes, people talk about leadership, having to listen, having to manage conflicts. That's a given role, but it's more about how do you. There are, for example, I would encourage whoever, everyone here, because when I was fortunate enough to be coached by McKinsey and Co. So we were a group of the role that we play is playing like an internal consultants within the organization. As a consultant, you need to be able to influence, right? Your proposal, your ideas. So go and look for MBTI, Myers-Briggs personality. So understand what your personality is. And if you're leading a team, get your team to also participate in a quick, personality test. So at least you know what's their makeup, how do they think, what resonates with them in terms of way of working. And the other tool that I love, which I still hold on to it because of the role by that was taught, is we call it the influencing model. A certain personality will resonate to this way of communication, this way of engagement, this way of working, right? For someone who's detail oriented and dealing with someone who's not, how do you close that gap? But doesn't mean you need to go head on. Think from the perspective of you're in a team. What if you bring in someone on board to help out? So that's where the collaborative way of working comes about. So I know it's giving a quite a big perspective here, but if you're leading a team of a different gender, first and foremost, be confident. Yeah, you're being called to the table. But however, yes, understand the makeup of the team. What's the different personalities that you're dealing with, and be transparent about it. And I think give yourself a chance to learn, right? Even if you make mistakes, and I hope the team will also allow the person who leads to make that mistakes, because it's a journey, right? It's a journey of discovery. Working life, journey life is all about discovery. So going back to that, first give that a chance. And there are all these tools, right? There are all these tools like McKinsey calls it the influencing model, a powerful tool. So if you go head on with someone who loves data, right, but you're not giving the data, of course there is a conflict. So you need to build that understanding, right? But if this person is still adamant, so how do you get still to the same end goal? Because at the end of the day, you are working towards a common goal. So one thing that I want to also re-emphasize is that when you talk about diversity and inclusion, I think when in a workplace, we have to be clear, we are there for a common goal. Right? Yes, we are all individuals, but however, when you commit or when you make a commitment to be in an organization, so you have to also accept and believe in that common goal. Otherwise, I think like when you were saying the experience, like you step out, right? It's no point of you heading on just because it doesn't resonate with you, because at the end of the day, it is a business, it is an organization heading towards a specific purpose or goal. So if it doesn't work out for you, go ahead and find that purpose. So to answer you, I hope I hope I addressed that. How do you manage different gender? But it also applies both ways. So yeah, that will be my take on it.
Thank you very much, Fedora. And I'm not sure, Wendy, if you wanted to add something to the discussion.
Yes, I think pretty much like what Andrea is trying to say. I think there's really no labels at this point. Doesn't matter what gender we are leading in that sense. I think some people say male leaders are more direct, female leaders have more empathy, but can be very emotional. In that sense, yes, when we work together, there might have conflicting working styles across the different genders. But for me, I believe the key word to lead is respect, right? Regardless of what gender. So it really does not matter if we are leading a completely different gender team, because what we need to do is we need to embrace the diverse talent that we have, right? And valuing each individual and providing inclusive leadership instead, right? So if we focus on that and we utilize our differences, we can then achieve our goals and objectives together in a more efficient way. And one other thing that I always advise my team to look at is also each other's strengths rather than their weaknesses, right? It's very easy for anyone to look at someone's weaknesses and, oh, they're not doing this. Why am I doing that? Why am I doing more of this? Why is it me again? And in that sense, I think it applies not just at work, even at home. With my kids, I look at them and they will do the same similar comments, right? So I think we tend to always look at people's weaknesses, right? And maybe what we can focus more on is identify their strengths and see how we can then use their strengths. Individually, we all have different strengths, right? And then we try to complement each other and work together as a team in that sense. So I think it really, really doesn't matter what gender your team is. I think it's more of committing to being a consciously inclusive leader, respect differences in your team, be accountable and embrace the possibilities that could come with it. So with all that, I think we definitely can lead any gender team.
Awesome, yeah. So the conclusion for me after the 3 female speakers, very simple, right? Yes, it's possible, and I think you should really take this away from the discussion. We have 3 awesome female leaders here in the panel, and I think enough really said from them to make it very, very clear. Everyone can be a leader. You can be an awesome female leader. If we put away the labels, then it will be helpful for everyone. And to the guys out there also, I want to let you know, yes, I have worked with female leaders myself, and we can just learn a lot from each other, right? I mean, in the end, we talked about the genders, but I think it is time to put this aside. We do not need to really take care. It's like, oh, do we have who are we hiring because of a gender, because of a race, because of the cultural background? But in the end, just hire the best fit for that role, regardless of any labels. So please keep that in mind, and be very confident about this when you want to become a leader in the future, definitely. And with that, we have to wrap it up already, so we have some time for the Q&A. Maybe my final question I would like to ask, and if you can make it maybe in a 1-minute statement, I would like to pick up the question or the message that Fedora mentioned before. We are not doing enough for diversity and inclusion. Can you let us know your number 1 tip for companies, or also for the students and fresh grads, your number 1 tip? What can we all do for more diversity, or to address the diversity and inclusion challenge out there? 1 minute if you can, and because you raised that topic, maybe Fedora, I start with you.
Yeah, I guess for if you're talking from the perspectives of the organization, I think having that in place, I know it's a bit operational, but having that process in place in terms of hiring process at the very beginning, right? To have it to be mindful of this requirement as a start. Yeah, because when you talk about maturity model of an organization, typically first level is about having the right processes, and eventually it becomes automated and becomes a habit. It becomes a culture. So if your organization is still at that level, so first and foremost, have that in place. And then eventually, if you, and it makes, be mindful of having it as an agenda, of discussion topics, right? Talk about it. Set up, it doesn't have to be set up your, like a mini co-curriculum like program, right? To talk about this, and at least provide that platform to allow people to actually share their perspectives. And the more you do that, the more you know, right? We say in Malay, tak kenal maka tak cinta, right? If you don't know, you won't fall in love, right? So let's understand one another, because at Malaysia, for example, if I talk about Malaysia, right, being a Malaysian, I mean, we owe it to the country, right? We are made up of all these diverse community, society, and going back to as a person, as individual, I think we are the agent of change. Now that we know, right, it doesn't mean that it's all the onus on the organization, we as the agent of change individually has to now take action. Start from home. Start with your, for example, if you have children, you have sisters, start talking to people who are of diverse background, because because we want to move, we want to address the unconscious bias. So going back to I as a change advocate, I would want the change to start within us, and it ultimately is taking action. It's not about rhetoric anymore. It's about taking that action, and be that small step. Start small, but then eventually it will translate into the the habit that you're in. So that will be my feedback.
Thank you very much, Fedora, and to everyone in the room listening, still be here. Please ask your questions in the chat. So once Andrea and Wendy are done with this last question, we can address these questions. Wendy, how about you? What is your number one tip for companies or even employees to improve D&I?
Yes, I think firstly, maybe the leaders need to lead by example, because inclusion is definitely a long haul process, right? And I always advocate self-reflection as well. So you do self-reflection every day if you can after work. I always tell my team to do that at the end of the day. Try to reflect what you have achieved, what you've not achieved, what you've done, anything you can improve before you proceed to the next day doing the same thing over and over again, right? So I believe by self-reflecting, you would also minimize your unconscious bias at workplace, right? Some of the examples that you can lead inclusively in a diverse workplace, like looking to mentor someone who is very different from you. It's not something that we would think of, off the hand all the time, or giving an assignment to someone other than the usual person that you go to, right? Yeah. So, or asking an introverted employee for input during a meeting, because they would obviously be silent, right? And usually it's the same people that will answer during a team meeting. So I think we need to lead by example. We need to go think out of the box and see how we can include others as much as we can, and see if, and from there, I think the team of employees will start looking into, okay, so this is how it's done. And I start including all these other people in my, even in my lunch, in that sense. I stopped going lunch with just the two person that I always go with. Maybe I should include someone else to join me for lunch, and all that. So I think, yeah, leading by example.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you very much, Wendy and Andrea. Also, please keep it in the 1 minute if you can, so we can address many of the questions that are just popping in. Your number one tip for D&I.
I will be super short. I just have a few points. I wrote them down, so I would just read them out. So the first point, guys, if you want to make it happen for yourself and you want to find a place that is inspiring you and you want to thrive, then the first point is knowing yourself. So have a strong core. You remember the dancer, you have to have your strong muscles, values, vision, everything together, deep self-exploration. Sometimes it's hard, but just do it, because then it will be much easier to find something that you like. Second thing is find a place that you like, that you resonate with, that has the values. Like if you like environment, then search for a company that is working around that topic. If you like digitalization, search for something that is around that. If you like inclusion, then search for companies who's having already inclusivity programs. So that's the second thing. The third thing is get to understand the system first. So don't start to yet just, bunk it all up, shake it around. First, understand the system, get to know the people, and still consider whether you like it or not. And then start to speak up. Check whether they let you speak up. So that's the next point. If they let you speak up and be part of the game, then you will feel that you can thrive here, because you will grow and you will find a leader that is helping you. And the last point is, well, there are two choices that you can make. First, you are aligned, you like what you do, you have the team, you are beautifully included, and you love this place, you stay and you thrive. And you do everything in your power to make it happen and make it a beautiful journey for everyone in the company. Second choice, you don't like it, well, don't stay. It's long gone those days when you have to stay. So please just leave and search for another thing, like Fedora said, which is more aligned with you and more vibrating you. So 5 points: know yourself, strong core. Second, search for your place and get to know it. Third, speak up and just check whether they are including you. And then the last one, stay if you like, don't stay if you don't like. Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks, Andrea, very much for that. And with that, I want to go to the Q&A session. I'm starting from the very top, and maybe have like just one panelist can answer the question, so we can go through it. The first one, very interesting already. Goes into change management. I think it's from Melanie, and she's asking, well, if you have someone that doesn't want to be included in the team, right? That just want to do the work and not be bothered to be included. How do you deal with someone like this? Who wants to take this question? Not Andrea, Wendy, or Fedora? Who?
It is about engagement. At the end of the day, first and foremost, have conversations, right? If your colleagues understand where is that coming from, and if, for example, a person is in a team, within a team, and there is a manager or a superior above him or her, give feedback, talk about it. I mean, at the end of the day, there's terms like feedback, but to me, I will simplify it as conversations. Because again, going back to earlier, where I'm alluding towards that common goal, common purpose. So is it to assess whether where is that coming from? Is it, not understanding the expectations, or is it capability? For example, issues. There's, a lot of the time people resist because of this fear, for whatever reason. Perhaps they don't know. Perhaps they're afraid, right? Perhaps what if? So I would say have these engagements or conversations, both as a team, rather than do not check out. You need to engage and eventually bring it up, raise it up. Because there's no point, having this issues being, not managed. So you need to address. So that would be one tip that I would give.
Sure. Yeah, thank you very much, Fedora. Let's move on to the next question by Fatinur Amani, which is also a very good one, I have to say, because I'm sure it happens at many places. It happened to me before. You're a leader, and basically some of your team members are very close friends, right? And now, as a team leader, you have to take actions and decisions, and those decisions obviously not always are appreciated by your friends. So the challenge is like, or how to do this, how to be honest with them, but at the same time, she is afraid that they will hate her and the friendship becomes cold or even breaks up. How to handle this situation?
I'll take this. I think leaders, like what I shared earlier, if you can identify your team members' strength, right? And I think then you can try to delegate certain tasks to them. I think one thing about leaders, a lot of times there are leaders that will keep, they will do everything. And there are times that we need to know when we need to delegate and when we need to use our resources. So as leaders, I think you need to be able to identify your resources and look at their strengths and see how you can then utilize, your team in a more productive way, right? So delegating the exact task or assignment for the individuals that you can, and then of course communicating it professionally with them as well. I mean, friends being friends, work is work, right? Assignment is assignment. So we can still be best friends, but when it comes to work, I need this, we need to deliver this together. Otherwise, we can't achieve this. So I think it's putting the obvious goal objective up front. And then if you being the leader, I think it's good that if you can identify everyone's strength and see how you can utilize them accordingly, that would be great.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Wendy, for that one. Fedora, Andrea, you wanted to add something, or? let's move to the next question.
Yeah, maybe I can just add. My dad always said there's many ways to skin a cat, right? So that's a saying, right? So it doesn't mean that you want to skin a cat, but basically, how do you approach things? So going back to, it does. I think initially, I understand totally where Fatin, right, is going through, because typically you're young, right? There's the senior that you have to deal with. And so yes, being respectful is one. Understand the culture. If the culture is very traditional, you definitely have to go through that protocols. But then again, I do not shut off. Remember I said it does take courage. But again, there's many ways of approaching it. So it does take a lot of thinking, a lot of strategizing as a start, because you still are trying to get to know one another, for example. But and I want to say this: don't sell your soul to the devil, right? Just in the way what Andrea is saying, right? If you don't like it, just go. So, but then again, give it a chance. Do not just shut off just because your perception of a person that this person is so and so is difficult and all that. Do engage. But again, it's learn how do you communicate, how do you address the situation. If you've taken that first step, if it doesn't work out, do not be too hard on yourself. Take it as a learning process. But yes, don't shy away, because I really have strong belief in our the young ones here, because I've experienced such great energy that they want to progress, they have a lot of ideas, but unfortunately at times, because of this, the hierarchy and all that, they don't know how to navigate their way. But my encouragement is, go ahead, do it. But there's also many ways of how you manage the situation, how you deal with the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Fedora. And the next question maybe follows up this what you just said, right? Tracy is asking, as a fresh graduate, it's difficult to be inclusive among the experienced colleagues. We had that before, right, as a challenge. What is your best advice to tackle this issue? Yeah, Andrea.
So I just wrote in the comments that it's most of the time it's about diplomacy skills. So you have to be really a good diplomat. So learn a little bit about others and try to understand what's motivating them, even if it's a very stiff culture where you see that it's very traditional, it's very different, they are all experienced, they are all above you because of the degrees or because of the years. Believe in yourself and believe when I say that you have also something to give. We all have treasures inside. We all have some talents that other people don't have. So the thing what you can do, and this is a tool, is to understand the other person. Where is he coming from? Where is she coming from? And try to make them understand what you have in your head their way, so that you are presenting your idea not as a push coming from a youngster, but coming from your experience that you have, saying that, all right, I know that you are more experienced, but I have an idea. Would you like to listen to it? And believe me, most of the people, if you do it with this diplomacy, with a positive mindset, with respectful ideas, it will happen for you. Maybe you have to, knock that door a few times. Maybe you have to do it every second week. But at the end of the time, when you are there, it will happen to you. It will happen to you because people will understand that you're coming from a good place and that you just want to make it better and that you want to be part of the game. And the other thing is that, again, I know I'm saying this a lot of times. It's not because I don't want you to earn money or I don't want you to be successful at a place. I don't want you to leave every company whenever you want. But I say that look around in the shop, as I wrote it in the comments. If you like it, you buy it. If you don't like it, you don't buy it. Because some cultures are really hard to change. Some people are really hard to influence because they have their mindset, but it's okay. You will find your tribe. You just have to try and try and try. Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks, Andrea. Very insightful. We have many more questions. Some of them I feel they're quite big to answer in a panel discussion. Like, what do you do to motivate the team, or how should the leader handle a disagreement between coworkers? Also, like, how can you avoid being a micromanager? I think there are awesome books out there to answer some of these questions. You would need to spend a couple of hours to dig into this. But I think every panelist here, including myself, is happy to also answer these questions maybe at a later stage offline. Just connect with us on LinkedIn. I think that's the easiest one. And I'm sure you can address the question again, and everyone will be happy to talk about this. I want to give back to I-WELD. There is a question from the audience. I want to address it directly. That's Muhammad Hafizuddin, if I say that correctly. So Diana or I-WELD, can you take over to open the mic for him?
Yeah, so hello. My name is Muhammad Hafizuddin. I'm currently a mechanical engineering undergraduate in University of Malaya. So yeah, actually, I'm sorry, I have to open my mic because I'm not comfortable in asking question through chat box. So yeah, I think this question is basically for me, Miss Fedora, because she had an engineering background. So I would like to ask, this question is a bit generic. So yeah, maybe others can have it also lah. So how important is leadership in your engineering career? The first question. And secondly, this is a follow-up question. So how can I develop my leadership skills during my uni life? Yeah, because there are a lot going on. So sometimes I don't know where and don't know how. So yeah, maybe you can give us some advice. Yeah, that's all for me. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Hafiz. Yeah, can I call you Hafiz? Yes,
Yeah,
thanks
sure,
for the question. So definitely, I guess I must say you guys are very lucky, and I must applaud all of you here for joining this session, because back then, I was started off as a software engineer, I never bothered myself with skills like leadership, right? Skills like all the soft skills. The whole idea is all about solving an issue, right? Debugging an issue, it's all that. So it is, now that I've gone through this journey, yeah, this leadership, these soft skills are really, really important. It will get you far, right? So because no matter whatever background that you have, I think having a engineering background, we tend to see things black and white. That's typically, if I again, I don't mean to generalize, right? But because we were trained, our mind is trained to actually solve a problem. There's always an answer to a situation, to a solution, right? Because of by calculation, by whatever ways, right? But when you talk about leading or the soft skills, you will be dealing with a lot of unknowns. How do you deal with these uncertainties? So yes, it is very important. So I would emphasize a lot. I believe everyone has this capacity to learn, regardless of what background you're in. But all these soft skills, it's something that if you're lucky, you have it through your life's journey because of the roles that you take. So if, for example, you're still in the university, take this opportunity, just to address the second question, take the opportunity to be part of an organization and be part of a organizing committee. For example, start off with simply be part of an organizing committee to do a program, because from that is you learn to deal with your different background, right? There's part of the teamwork. So there is all these mechanics to go about it. So, but going back to now, right, you have this opportunity to engage with a lot of people, right, with a lot of people with experience. Do grab a mentor, do grab a coach. I think that will set you up. I did not have it in the earlier stage of my career, so I only had it in the later stage. So it's more a lot of learning by doing. But ideally now, knowing what you know, knowing that you have access, plan it out, make a conscious decision to find yourself a coach or a mentor in this area. So that would be my advice for you. I hope I answered your question, Hafiz.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much, Hafiz, for your question, and Fedora for the great answers. And with that, I will wrap it up from my side. I think that was extremely exciting. I know we can talk another 1 or 2 hours. Awesome to meet with you, and it was really a great honor to be the moderator for I-WELD and for this panels. Again, please don't miss out, as Fedora said, to connect with these awesome female leaders. And with that, I would like to thank you, Andrea, Wendy, and Fedora, for sharing your insights, your experiences. And again, it was a great pleasure. Thanks so much. And with that, I give back to Diana.
Thank you so much, Mr. Patrick. It was indeed an intellectual session by our module 2 speakers and moderator. It's true, in this modern era, it's great that diversity and inclusion help us all to grow acceptance and demolish discrimination. So speakers, let's all take maybe a photo session before you all sign off. Mr. Patrick? All right, so I-WELD team will have to take the speaker's picture. So maybe we can start in 3, 2, 1. All right, one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, speakers. Thank you very much. It's an honor to have all of you today. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your experience with us. Thank you very much. We are going to move on to the next session, guys. I know that you guys are excited to answer questions in our Kahoot segment after listening to Module 1 and Module 2. Please note that the top 3 scorers from the Kahoot will get a special recognition certificate. I would like to ask everyone to take their phones out, and we will also provide a link in the chat box, or you can head over to kahoot.it to enter the game pin. So as seen on the screen, the game pin is 4384490. You guys can head over to the website first. I'm going to give it a few minutes for everybody to enter. Don't be too scared. Our questions are all related to Module 1, Module 2. I see that many names are already entering. I see Afika, I see Nafis, Aisha, Putra. Yeah, okay, so I'm actually very, very excited. Let's still wait for others. Oh, guys, I forgot to actually tell you, please use your real name, because if you win, it's gonna be easier for ILP team to track you and get your information afterwards. And if you put your nickname, it'll be a lot harder. But if you have already entered your name, it's fine. If you happen to win, maybe we can connect on Instagram. All right, let's go. I also hope that you guys have great internet connection. Okay, more names are coming in. Okay, should we maybe wait for 20 more seconds? While I also am going to help you guys, I will lead you throughout the session. Don't worry. Okay, more names are actually coming in. Again, guys, the game pin is 4384490. If you guys win, you guys will get a special recognition certificate. Note that these certificates are very, very important for you to add in your resume and CV when you're going into your workforce or internship later. So I think we're going to start very, very soon. Maybe 10 more seconds. In 10, 9, do we have more names? 8, 7, Okay, we still have names. All right, maybe 10 more seconds. I see Kayatri coming in. Okay, 6, 5, 4. Okay, more names coming in. Maybe 5 more seconds. Oh, that's just a smiley emoticon. It'd be a little hard for ILP team to track you, but if you happen to win Miss or Mr. Smiley, please do contact us on Instagram at I-WELD Malaysia. Okay, 5 more seconds. Okay, I think we're done. We should move on. Let's go, guys. 115 people are joining for our game. Okay, this is the Kahoot questions for ILP Day 1. Let's go, guys. Good luck. Question 1. So, what is leadership to you? Pick the correct answer with the correct colors, okay? You already have more than 50 answers now. That's very quick. You guys are very, very quick. Wow. Okay. I think most of you have answered. Let's go. Should we see? Okay, most of you got right. Most of you got right. 84 of you got right. That's very nice. Let us see the scoreboard. So Win is at the first scoreboard, and that explains the name actually, Win. Win, I hope you win until the end. So moving on, guys, let's go. Question 2. Good leaders are great. Great at what? What do you guys think? Rulers, simplifiers. What do you guys think? 15 more people have to answer. Simplifiers. So not much get that correct, but it's fine. Okay, Win is still leading, guys. You guys have to make sure you guys get ahead of him. Haras is at second, Nabila is at the third. Let's go to the third question. Question 3. Identify the 4 qualities and skills that make great leaders. Wow. You guys are fast. Let's go, guys. Communicative confidence, integrity, and attitude. Yes. 112 of you got right. Okay, Nabila is at second place now. Haras is at the third. This is very competitive. Moving on, let's go. Leaders build teams. Which qualities best describe team builders? Read the question and the answer carefully, okay, guys? You guys are really, really fast. Almost there. Motivated and selfless. That's very nice. So let's see. Oh, Haras is leading right now. Win. If you're listening, you have to take back your scoreboard. And to the rest of you, let's try to win against Haras, Angel, and Fatira now. Let's go. Question number 5. Almost there. All of the above. So all of the answers are right. Okay, guys. So let's see who's okay. Angel, whoever you are, Angel, you're on the top scoreboard now, followed by Fatira and Elias. So let's go. Let's see who will win. Question number 6 now. So what is the answer? Waiting for everyone to answer. So let's see who got it right this time. Angel is still on top, followed by Nabila, and Haras is still in the top 3. Okay, let's win, guys. Let's win. Just 3 more questions left. So yes, when the team isn't working, what should you do? I love the questions. They're very nice. Wow, what's the answer? Ground between everyone. Also to get mutual understanding. Angel is leading, followed by Nabila and Haras again. Let's see if in the next question, the scoreboard will change. Let's go. How to be an inclusive leader? What do you guys think? Collaborate, listen to understand. Let's wait for everybody. One more. All of the above, all of the answer are right, guys. So most of you got it correct. Let's look at the scoreboard. It's still the same. It's okay, guys. Don't give up. Let's see. How is it going to be in the next question? Let's go. Okay, these questions are all about I-WELD. So what do you guys know about I-WELD Leadership Strategy Program and I-WELD Leadership Program? Oh my God, I just said it. Somehow I give you guys the answer. Do you guys manage to catch it? So I already give you the answer just now. Okay, congrats to the 43 of you that listened and paid attention. Let's see who got it right. So guys, the last question, what could our prodigy program offer? What can we offer? What do you guys think? All of the above. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Let's look at the scoreboard now. Oh, it's at the top 3. Adila is at number 2. And who get the first place? Haras. So the scoreboard turns out to be different. I am very shocked as well. And congratulations, Haras, Adila, and Alvin. You guys managed to get the special recognition certificate. And yeah, how do you guys feel about the Kahoot session? Do you guys like the questions? Do you guys enjoy it? If you have any inquiries or anything you just want to say, please do add in the chat box below. Congratulations once again to our winners. And to all of you as well for participating. And to our winners, please DM us on Instagram at I-WELD Malaysia, providing your details such as your name, IC number or passport number, and not forgetting your email address, because you guys did not put your full name there. Please do DM us. Okay, so all of you guys here, before we end, let's all take a picture and turn on your camera now. I love to see how everybody looks like. Thank you for participating today. I want to see and connect with all of you. It's very nice that you all add your LinkedIn link down below. Now that you guys have added, let's open our camera and look at each other. Okay. So if our speakers are still here, you guys can also turn on your camera. I'll give it around maybe 40 seconds for everyone to turn on their camera. Is it okay? Okay. ILP team, I-WELD team, are you guys ready to take the picture? Okay, I think most of you have opened. Let's take a picture right now. I'm gonna fix my hair a little. Maybe you should as well. Okay. I-WELD, please help to take the picture, yeah? In 3, 2, 1. Maybe to the next page now. We have few pages, right? Let me see. All the gallery. Okay, one more, please. 1, 2, 3. Moving on to the other page. And the other page now. And one last page, just in case. I-WELD team, 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for turning on your cameras. I believe that we have come to the end of I-WELD Leadership Program Day 1. But before that, can everyone please take out your phone, scan the QR code, and drop your most honest feedback for ILP Day 1. You guys can see the QR code shown on the screen that will lead you to our feedback form. And note that you have to fill in the feedback form for today as well as tomorrow to be able to claim your e-certificate. So yes, maybe 10 seconds to scan the feedback form, yeah? It will only take 2 minutes. You can just save the link first and fill it in a bit. Maybe 10 seconds. I'll give you guys some space to do that. Okay. Everybody, on behalf of I-WELD, I would like to thank everyone for being here today. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow, same time, for ILP Day 2, as we will cover the last module. The module is Evolution of Leadership in 21st Century. If you'd like to get yourself an e-certificate, please be sure to come again tomorrow after submitting the other feedback form, as I mentioned previously. Yeah. So ILP 2021 is indeed one of our greatest achievements at I-WELD, and we will not stop here. If you all are interested to join I-WELD and be a part of us, we are recruiting new members under the I-WELD Leader Protégé program. You are able to register by scanning the QR code that will show, and do follow us on Instagram. DM us at I-WELD Malaysia if you have any questions about ILPP. We are looking forward to have you on board. Once again, thank you very much. See you tomorrow at 10 a.m. as we will have intelligent speakers such as Mr. Monir, the Vice President of Gojek Indonesia, Mr. Manuj, founder of Tetra Noodles Technology, Dr. Nisa, Dean of Arts and Science at International University Malaya Wales, and will be moderated by Ms. Madiha Fuad, founder of Plus Vibes. Stay safe, everybody. Please don't forget to fill in the feedback form. Take care and see you guys again tomorrow.